There's so many rules in 40K, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back for another hot and exciting Art of War tier list. We're back!
Tier List Tuesday, everyone's favorite day of the week. Everybody loves Tuesdays. That's a well-known fact.
Yeah, everyone loves Tuesdays. They, are matter of fact, are ranked higher on the tier list than Mondays.
Is that because they start with a T?
It's because they start with a T.
T for Tuesdays, T for tier list, T for every Warhammer faction in the game.
It should be Tuesdays because Tuesday is S tier.
Oh, Tuesdays. That's right, everybody. Today we are going to be ranking every single Warhammer faction, even all of your Space Marine chapters, all of them, including the brand new and shiny Leagues of Votann. Are they in C tier? Are they in B tier? Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out today.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. It's been a while since we've done a little bit of a tier list. I think the last time we did was right when that Nephilim book came out. But a lot has changed, not just in the meta, but in our perception of it as well.
Perceptions.
The perceptions.
Well, actually, this is not the last time we've done, the first time in a while we've done a tier list. We do this every single Tuesday.
True, it's true.
It's been the first time we're doing every faction in the game. But you know what? On this channel, we do tons of different YouTube content about more competitive Warhammer. We're a competitively focused channel. And with that, we're going to be looking at this tier list rankings based on the power ceilings of these armies. If you play these to the absolute best of their capable potential, like best players in the world on these armies, what are the results you're going to get? That's how we're going to rank them. Win percentages and matchup theory, all that will factor in, of course. But largely speaking, this is going to be a tier list based on codex potential.
Yes, absolutely. So we're talking about the ideal scenario. So I'm a bit of a numbers guy myself, but we're not just going to repeat it in, numerical order based on percentage wins. Sometimes we think that an army is a little bit better than its win percentage because a top player can really get a lot out of it.
And sometimes a win percentage can be misleading because like an army such as Space Marines with so many newer players joining their ranks, they're going to bring that win percentage down because they're learning the ropes of the game. However, some really experienced veterans might be able to pull some magic out of their hats. So that's going to be what we're doing this weekend for you.
Right on. We're also going to be talking about this super chat we just got. Tim Pinney sliding in. Thank you so much for that support. All the support that you give us helps us keep the channel running. It helps us do what we do. Nick, Miami weekend when?
Tim, I was just thinking about this. Thank you so much for your support. Miami weekend's soon. It is so overdue. I said like in May. It is now September. I owe you a Miami trip. That is a fun fact. So, for those of you who don't know Tim and don't know this Miami weekend trip, he is a member of our War Room community. Right now, the War Room is a wonderful place where all the top players in the world kind of get together and share their knowledge and teach you how to get better about your game. We teach tons of classes, clinics, strategy sessions, meta-analyses, faction-based stuff, all in the War Room. You can check out the link, theartofwar40k.com/learn more. It's right below. And right now, right this second, there is a 50% off your first month coupon code going live. It's called Join Our Community. That's all you have to do. When you check out for the War Room, just type in Join Our Community, all lowercase, in that little promo code box, and you'll get 50% off your first month.
Yep, it's actually Join the Community. So make sure you get that one right because that's how you get 50% off your first month in the War Room.
Join the community.
Exactly. So really excited for this one. And of course, any support that you give does really help us a lot. So make sure you drop that like. Maybe if you even share it with your friends, go ahead and subscribe as well to our YouTube channel. All those wonderful things help the algorithm, help us.
Yeah, give us that like, subscribe, leave a comment telling us how handsome we are. It all helps us continue producing this content for you. We've got content for beginners. We got content for tournament winners. We got content for all of you. So if you're interested in getting better at Warhammer, now is the time to do it, and you've come to the right place.
Absolutely. Likes for the like throne. Shares for the share god.
Wow, that's something.
There we go. All right, Nick, are we ready to do this?
We're ready to rock and roll.
Ready to rock and roll?
Yeah.
I'm excited to rank all of these different armies. So let's So let's talk about the criteria that we look at when we're ranking these different armies, right?
Well, before we talk about our criteria, I don't want to stop you. I want to thank 40K away for becoming a member of this wonderful community we have here. You're awesome. Your support's awesome. Appreciate you. And a $10 super chat from Square 7. Give Alex a high five for me. Alex, air 5. He caught that.
Thank you so much, Square 7. Really, really appreciate your support. Awesome.
All right, John, let's talk about that criteria.
All right, so we're ranking armies. We're ranking every army in the game. And we already said that we're kind of ranking on the top potential of an army. What I personally look at a little bit of a combination of like how an army's win rate is and how many events it wins. And also that little bit like that feel of like, can it reach the next level? Because sometimes an army can slip up a lot, like Craftworlds Eldar, but I still think that Craftworlds Eldar like have the potential to win an event. I look at like event winning potential. But you still got to consider how much does it win, because there is more to Warhammer than just can you win a super major.
Right, of course. So armies like Craftworlds, it's a great example. It's a super high skill ceiling army. Genestealer Cults similar. Yep. An average player with those armies will probably not produce many results, bringing down that win rate, often not winning events, that kind of thing. However, an amazing player with them can really take it to the next level. So I think that's the criteria we're going to be taking into consideration here.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we'll discuss this, case by case with each army. But a lot of these factions are going to provide some very interesting discussions, I think, where we're going to really struggle to place them.
Oh yeah.
All right,
Let's
you
get
ready?
into it.
You ready?
Everyone's favorite. They're still broken. Admech.
Absolutely. Admech to the top of S tier.
Just put
Every
them in.
time.
Every time.
All jokes aside, Admech have fallen on hard times lately.
They've been nerfed once or twice.
And then it seems that the rest of the game is rising around them.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting much love these days from the Games Workshop overlords. They had their moment in the sun for a long time. They even earlier this year won LVO in the hands of Mr. Siegs.
Yep.
There's certainly a capable faction of competing, but only if you really know them inside, outside, left, right, and sideways, and even then they still struggle.
Yeah. I think that Admech has the problem of being very, very hard to play and also having an unfortunate series of counters. I do still think that Admech are a little bit better than the community gives them credit for.
I agree with that.
But I still don't think that they're as good as Richard thinks they are.
Well, Richard thinks they're the best army in the game. And
That's
you know
true,
what?
yeah.
This isn't his tier list. This is our tier list.
Exactly.
I think they're B for baseline.
B for baseline?
B for baseline.
I would guess that they're going to end up towards the bottom of B tier. I myself was wondering if they would be the top of C, maybe.
Ooh,
but we can
spicy.
also kind of reframe this a little bit when we get to the end. We see where everyone else falls. We may end up going a little bit, up or down on that.
Of course. Got another super chat from Snacked the Fate Twister, Fate Weaver.
Sanoct the tongue twister, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, try saying that 5 times fast. Can we skip the queue with our new Dwarven Overlords and put them straight in Votann tier? They might end up in V for Vossum, but, we'll get them. This is a nice alphabetical tier list, so Leagues of Votann, V for Votann, and V for the head of White Scars.
they are strictly ahead of White Scars in the alphabet. We'll see where Votann ends up. I'm going to go ahead and pinky promise, that they will not end up in D tier, even though they deserve to be in Dwarf tier.
No pinky promises for me.
Yeah, never mind. But S stands for squads. We'll find out soon, right?
Well, let's try another controversial pick while we're at it. Blood Angels. Now, Jack's also not on this tier list for the first time ever. Yeah. You know what? That means Blood Angels are not going in S tier.
No, I do think that Blood Angels are the strongest. I'd say they're the strongest Spaceman chapter.
You think they're stronger than Scars and Dark Angels?
Oh, yeah, easily.
Easily,
yeah. I think Blood Angels, they have that good combination of, they work well on middle tables. They're stronger on some terrain formats than other. I think they're very strong on GW format. And a big thing that happens with them is that they actually get event results. And as much as I love my own White Scars, I gotta be honest, I check the meta Mondays. I watch those in the War Room every week. You don't really see a lot of White Scars cracking the top 8s, but you see Blood Angels.
Playing them, John.
Maybe, but there's a reason I'm not. I think Blood Angels. I think that the strongest Space Marine chapter is still just a little bit above the baseline. I'm thinking B tier.
I'm thinking B for Blood Angels.
B for Blood Angels?
I agree. I think Blood Angels fall, and this is going to be a common thing amongst most of the Space Marine chapters, I imagine. With the new Armor of Contempt rules, it's really easy to just take 2 up saves, put them in cover, have functional ignore AP1 and AP2, which invalidates a big chunk of the viable builds out there.
Absolutely.
And then you're going to steamroll. But then someone can deal with Armor of Contempt and cover, and then it's like we're back to square one. So I just don't... I think Space Marines have become, unfortunately, with Armor Content, a bit of a stat check style army.
Fully agreed, and I think Blood Angels are the best at that because they've got the best access to 2-up saves without Storm Shields.
Right.
But the best stat check army sometimes fails the stat check.
Yeah.
And when you find the wrong person who's like, oh, I have AP4 ignore cover, and you're just like, interesting.
I think there's a lot of room for player skill expression with Blood Angels, just because combat armies allow for a lot of movement shenanigans and expressive player skill capabilities.
Yeah.
But even still, there are other combat armies out there that will just beat you up.
Exactly. So I think the top
They're
of
ahead of
B2.
AdMech for sure.
Certainly think they're ahead of AdMech. I'm okay going there. We're going down to the Bs.
The Black Templars.
The Black Templars, the Jack Templars. And as a matter of fact, we're playing a game with Black Templars later today in that same war room. So, Black Templars, definitely an upper end Space Marine for me.
I don't know. I think Black Templars are one of the Space Marines I know and understand the least. To my understanding, they're just a bunch of durable bodies in the midboard trying to exist at you, and if you come near them, they might kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that feels about right. They've got a bunch of cool toughness tricks. They are more durable than average Space Marines, but they're not faster than average Space Marines. They're the same speed as a Space Marine because they have the same data sheets. So, yeah.
So they're going to try to play a game similar to like Deathwing and Death Guard in that they're durable Space Marine bodies trying to control the objectives that way. They don't suffer from mortal wounds the same because they have that inbuilt 5-up and they have that psychic deny to help them counter other armies' psychic secondaries, which I think helps them a lot compared to those factions.
Yep.
Do they have, you said they don't have any mobility tricks. Do they have good secondaries at all?
Nope, they do not have any really good faction secondaries. Now they have a lot of good combat tricks, so they're very good at being a combat army, but they're not that fast at it. So sometimes they run into the problem of people don't want to get in combat with them, and then their combat tricks they don't matter that much.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a gun problem because they're slow. I think these are worse than AdMech, personally.
Worse than AdMech?
I think they are.
You're thinking Black Templars in C tier?
No.
Or...
Well, we can rearrange the tiers, but I think a lot of Space Marines are going to fall in between B and C because they're an upper Space Marine chapter. I think they belong in B.
Yeah, I still think they're a top 5 Space Marine chapter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, now we're getting some spikes and some spice. We've got Chaos Knights coming up. This is a fan favorite of mine.
Chaos Knigets?
Chaos Knigets are my favorite. It's my favorite Chaos faction.
Your favorite for Chaos faction. You're playing them this week, even.
I am playing them tomorrow against you. You're going to get to find out why they're my favorite.
Whoa, so we got Black Templars, we got Chaos Knights. It's like we play games out here.
Almost. So I think Chaos Knights are really good. I think that they're another army that's a little bit underappreciated. Maybe it's just because they stand right next to Imperial Knights in the robot tier.
Mind-blowing for me to see how many Chaos Knights have been taken to like WTC, the World Team Championships, and of course a team championship format will skew what you take and stuff. And there's like 15 out of the 900 people playing at LGT. Yeah,
there's not a lot of Chaos Knights at LGT at all, but there's a lot of Chaos Knights at WTC. There was I think they're quite good.
I also really like, and this may not be mono Chaos Knights, but the insert 15 Flamers demon detachment here, I think that does quite a bit for the Chaos Knight army.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I always view Knights as a bit of a stat check army. I think they operate really similarly in power level to Blood Angels in that they will beat you up or they won't beat you up. But I think with the new, mechanics with dread tests and stuff, plus OBSEC 5 model armigers and war dogs and things like that, Knights can actually play the mission now, which really helps them out with their critical weaknesses. I think these are like bottom of A tier, top of B tier.
I definitely think that they're ahead of Blood Angels. Okay. I really like Chaos Knights. I think that they've got the right amount of jank with power, and so they can stat check people. They also benefit a lot from Agents of Chaos, whereas Imperial Knights are... I think the general consensus from the internet is that Imperial Knights got a better book than Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights get much better ally options because there's so many ways to get Agents of Chaos involved. I, for one, love Abaddon with the Chaos Knights.
Yeah.
Sean Kruger's jumping in here with a $5 super chat. Tips on playing light Harlequins versus Mortarion / Death Guard. Nick, these are 2 of your armies.
Oh, I got this. All right, so one of the biggest things you have as light Harlequins is you have 2 advantages over the Death Guard. One, your army can dish out a ton of mortal wounds. This is through things like Mirror the Mind, Shards of Light, just taking multiple Shadow Seers. And then, of course, you can load up your boats with 5 troops, give them 2 fusion pistols, 2 neuro pistols in each, fly them up. Neuro pistols just do mortals. Death Guard hate mortals. Fusion pistols, they wound decently. They are AP4 to get through that Armor of Contempt. They do work into the Death Guard, and they're high enough damage if you get close to them. That the -1 damage really shouldn't come into effect. So the thing you're going to want to make use of here is using your Harlequins to kind of isolate the Death Guard. One of the challenges to playing Death Guard is that they really have to spread themselves out to play the game. One objective's over here, one's over there, one's over here. So pick a section of the Death Guard army and just go for it, then pick a different section and go for it, and pick a different section and go for it. I think with Harlequins, you want to try to take like 20 plus units in your list through Star Weavers, troops, and characters. Let Mortarion take his pound of flesh every turn. It's not going to add up to that much. And if you can beat them on the mission, because your army's so good at scoring points, it doesn't matter really what happens to your actual units.
Yeah, definitely ignoring Mortarion feels like a right move.
Yeah, you don't want to ignore that big boy.
All right, back to Chaos Knights. I'm pretty comfortable putting them in A tier. We'll kind of see where they stack up with the rest of A tier.
I'm good with them in A
But
tier.
for now, they're the first army there, so we don't need to talk too much about their placement. All right.
Craftworlds.
This is one that I think is going to be really interesting.
I like Craftworlds a lot.
Yep.
Still.
And just to be clear, this is just Craftworld. We're not ranking Harlequins as part of this. Right. This is just Craftworlds. Harlequins will be ranked later. Mm-hmm. So
what are your thoughts on crafts?
I think that Craftworlds have a bit of a problem where their secondary game isn't great anymore. And that means that I think they're still really good at the playstyle they were good at pre-Nephilim. Mm-hmm. Pre-Nephilim, I would have said that they were a top-tier army. They didn't get much worse, but the way that secondaries changed, I think, didn't benefit them. So in my mind, they're like a slightly above average army, with only in that they have a lot of room for top players to do good work with them. I actually think that if we're going just the field, I think they're a bottom half army. But they're one of those armies that is lower than 50% win rate, but I think has that potential for a top player to do better with them. There's a lot of opportunity to express skill in Craftworlds. So I think that's going to give them a little bit of a bump in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just repeating stats to the internet, I think we just toss them to C tier below 50% win rate.
But that's not what we're doing.
That's not what we're doing. No. I do disagree with your point that they have poor secondaries or middling secondaries. I think they have great secondaries, even still. My go-to secondary package with Craftworlds prior to the new Nephilim update was Stranglehold, To the Last, and Warp Ritual. Now, To the Last and Stranglehold are Gabaizis, so I can totally understand why you're saying that. But they have made Scout the Enemy better. Hidden Path is also valuable in certain objectives, so those are two different categories. So basically, for your battlefield supremacy, you can build a list that does flex option of behind enemy lines, engage in all fronts, and Hidden Path based on your opponent, based on the situation you find yourself in. In certain missions, Hidden Path is really good. In certain missions, it's terrible. So you have options there. Then in Shadow Ops, you have Banners is a great secondary these days. That got better. R&D is still amazing for Eldar, more so than other armies. If you take Falcons with Dire Avengers inside, you can get out, shoot action on turn 1 in your opponent's side.
That is pretty strong.
And then, of course, you have the Scout the Enemy secondary, where if you take some requisite rangers in the right deployment zones, that can be amazing. And then your Psychic Ritual Quicken package, that's still good to go.
It still exists, yeah.
So I think Harlequin or Eldar can, between those three categories, come up with a secondary plan. Then, of course, we're not even talking about kill ones, which a lot of armies give up these days.
Yeah, that is true. You see a lot of those now. Craftworld are still quite good. Like I'm inclined to go either low A tier or like the very tippity top of B. I do think that Craftworld is better than Blood Angels, for example. But also Craftworlds do have a couple of weird matchups, and the Hail of Doom nerf is not insignificant.
No, it's not. Craftworld lists do not just like come together nearly as well as they used to, but that's part of why their win rate has depleted. But I think top level players can still make them work, as evidenced in certain events by certain players.
Absolutely.
I was inclining to put them between high end of A tier and low end of A tier, but I think we can split the difference and put them in A tier. I do think they're better than Chaos Knights.
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I do actually disagree with that. I actually like Chaos Knights more than Craftworld Eldar. But I'll humor you here.
You'll humor me?
I'll humor you there.
Beautiful.
And put that right there, and we can kind of address A tier as we get more armies in it.
For sure.
So we've got Watchers in the Dark with the $2 super chat, grinding out Votann for the Chicago Open. Watchers in the Dark, bless you. If you bought that many box sets that you're getting 2K out of it, well done. That's a lot of box sets. What kind of a depraved madman like Richard Siegler would have that many box sets?
These are the questions. But you know, there's a false assumption with your premise. You assumed Siegler's a man. The robots.
The robots. Maybe Watchers in the Dark is a robot, and that's who he's going to paint all of these Votann before the Chicago Open. That's starting that up.
You know what else is good at the Chicago Open? Chaos Space Marines.
Fully agreed.
Fully agreed.
Chaos Space Marines.
What a faction.
I'm actually quite high on Chaos Space Marines. I know. I don't think they've gotten enough credit recently. No. That's why we're playing them on stream today in the War Room.
This is very. So the Black Templars versus the Chaos Space Marines.
That's exactly how it's going down. I'm Just for today, I'm feeling a little spiky, a little heretical.
Wow. Times have changed. No White Scars for John. Yes, Chaos Space Marines for John.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Chaos Marines kind of came out at a weird time because they came out right before WTC. And then they weren't allowed at WTC, which meant that, at least, from our perspective, we weren't really reading the Chaos Marine book as much when it came out. While
they were cleaning up some tournaments.
While they were cleaning up some tournaments. And then a lot of, the top players from different countries similarly were not playing them as much because they were getting ready for WTC. So they kind of went from a weird spot of they didn't exist to they've been out for a while to me, where there was no in between that I'm used to of figuring out the book. But we're seeing really good work from them. As a matter of fact, I think you just had them on the Art of War podcast.
We did. We just had Zach Nelson, who won a GT with them, with Fabius Biles Creations, what you're playing today in the War Room, your own twist on it. What's interesting about Chaos Space Marines is they actually have quite a few different viable chapters. Yep. Fabius Biles been crushing event results lately. Emperor's Children, I think that was the strongest one right out of the gate. And then Black Legion, I still think is a bit underexplored, as well as Word Bearers being the kind of obvious go-to. This is the powerhouse. That one's kind of taking a step back, but it's obviously still very powerful. I would say Chaos Space Marines as a faction are very, very strong. The only real big weaknesses they have is that their secondary game is middling. They don't really have great faction secondaries. Long War is okay. Their action one for the Dark Gods is okay. And they're stuck with book secondaries, rulebook secondaries. I would say their other problem is also they're a little bit allergic to guns. Tau, Eldar, not the kindest of the people to the Chaos.
Yeah, so I think that Chaos Space Marines, they definitely don't love getting shot. No one does. But Chaos Space Marines usually don't build a big shooting element in their list because they're so good at combat. Their secondaries can be a little bit rough, but Creations of Bile actually has a good faction secondary. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we've seen Creations of Bile take off the way that it has.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Chaos Space Marines. I actually want to put them right at the top of A tier.
You want to put them at the top?
Yeah. I think that they're better than Craftworld Eldar. There's always the feel check where, you're like, oh, Craftworld Eldar is janky and it can do things. But if we're just going by stats, you'd be surprised to know this. Fabius Bile is the highest win rate in the game by 7%.
Interesting.
They are crushing the competition on win rate. And they have a good amount of event placements and wins as well. So that's not the only thing to consider.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we're obviously not going straight off of win percentage. Otherwise, top of S tier, it's the most winningest army at the moment. But the thing I want to highlight with Fabius Bile is that it's only got a plan. Its plan is to fight combat and to kill you. It's very, very good at it. Fights on death. It fights in my turn, fights on your turn. It's fast. It hits super hard. Yeah. All of the makings of an amazing combat army. But it's very malleable in its plan. The whole idea is you take to the Long War or a Psychic secondary, you take your purchase specimens for the Spider secondary, you might take banners, and you just punch people. No prisoners if they give it up, bring it down if they give it up. Just go kill them. And there are certain factions that simply don't really die like that, and that could be through lack of interaction. I could see Eldar specifically giving Fabius Bile a lot of fits, Tau too. So it's not really adaptable, whereas Eldar can dig themselves out of holes really well. So how much do you value, I'm really good at what I do? Because they're better at what they do than Eldar is at what Eldar does. But Eldar can solve problems better than Chaos can solve problems.
Yeah. It's a weird thing where I think that you can still build a lot of tools into Fabius Bile, and you can make your strength so strong that other people can't play around it. If Fabius Bile's game plan is, I get points for killing you and I'm on all the objectives, then if you don't get close to them, can you kill them fast enough? And I think they can build enough defense into a list that most people aren't going to get there. I think that they're so good at their one game plan, and it's been working so well, just, looking across the meta, I still have them above Eldar for me.
I could see it. I think they're very in line with Eldar in power, just different in style. I'll give it to you.
And their power is a little bit being carried by Creations of Bile, which is an amazing sub-faction. But between Black Legion, Word Bears, and Emperor's Children, we do have multiple other sub-factions that have been doing well. I think that Creations of Bile is the clear winner in my mind. But good players have been able to solve their problems by teching into other legions as well.
Yeah.
And then there's Abaddon. So I'm going to go ahead and put them at the top of A for now, and we'll kind of see how it plays out. All right, this one's going to be hard.
This one's close to your heart, John.
This one is close to my heart.
The Custodes.
Yeah, Adeptus Custodes are, again, if you look at just the numbers, it's a hard army to rank, but then like I feel like they're really good. You know, Custodes is an army that I took to WTC. I did relatively well with it. I loved how the army played. I thought it was quite competitive.
Shoes on the other foot now.
Shoes on the other foot now, because I think that they're an army that's really good at winning games and really bad at winning events.
Oh.
I think that if I took Custodes to an event, I think I have really good odds of going like 5-1. Mm-hmm. Better odds than some other armies. Mm-hmm. But then I think I have less odds of winning an event. Like, I would be more surprised, like if Nick and I are going to a tournament and Nick's playing Craftworld Eldar and I'm playing Custodes, I would be less surprised if I went 5-1 than if Nick went 5-1, but I'd be also less surprised if Nick won the event than if I won the event.
Right.
I think Custodes are a really strong army. They have a great game plan, but they're so elite that they just have some problems where sometimes the plan doesn't work. Sometimes the plan is, oops, they're pointing 3 hammerheads at me. Am I still going to go through with my plan? Yes, because it's the only one I have. And then you lose 3 vehicles a turn.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Let's also consider your Custodes list is very skewed and one that most
Absolutely.
people don't have access to or really play. It's
That's
6
a real thing.
Forgeable Dreads and 3 Caladius. So,
But we are talking about this, trying to be like the top playing.
For sure. So with that specific build being what you're envisioning when you talk about the Custodes faction, is there any other viability to builds in the Custodes faction? I understand this is like their theoretical maximum potential, but if it's also one build where it's like we gave chaos points for having 4 different factions be viable, Eldar similar, so if it's just the one list.
Custodes are not getting those bonus points.
No bonus points there.
No bonus points on that one.
So they do have a higher win percentage than Eldar. I think they're easier to play, personally, than a lot of these top armies.
Absolutely true.
But I also, as someone who has messed up playing Custodes quite a bit in my life, I'm not going to call them the easiest brain dead army. They require skill and tactics just like everybody else. So I don't know where you want to put these, John. I'm definitely feeling A tier.
Oh,
you weren't.
I was not.
You were not.
I was gonna go B tier with Custodes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because there's like the feel of it, which my feel is that every once in a while something goes wrong and it's out of my hands. Mm-hmm. And then there's the numbers side, which is that Custodes have a good win rate, but they are really not good at getting event top 5s.
You know who is getting good at getting about top times? Bam watches movies with his $5 super chat. Squirtle Squad for life. Thanks, Bam. Okay, so I hear you. I mean, like, from an event placing standpoint, they don't have the results that the other armies do. But that could be, like, people don't own the list we're talking about. Yeah. That's a real thing.
That is a real thing. Yeah, I think, I do think that, Reziel's talking smack in the chat. I haven't lost a Blood Angel with Custodes. Checkmate. I was thinking B tier, probably ahead of Admech. I think that they're very close to Blood Angel tier.
I think they're a degree better than every army in B tier, personally.
Yeah.
Maybe they're close to Blood Angels.
That could also be a sign to bump down some of the.
Yeah, we could knock some
B
stuff
tier,
to see right now.
Like we could do that now just for the screenshots. I feel like because everyone's taking the screenshots. Wait till the end for these screenshots.
No, they gotta take it mid thing so they can really give us some crap on the internet. But please leave comments with your screenshots.
Yeah. People are saying Bile aside, Custodes outperform CSM. They're not getting the event wins that other CSM legions are.
I think that's also, you can't say Bile aside. Like, Bile's there.
Bile's part of it. Yeah. So I was gonna put them right below Blood Angels, but I could see right above as well.
I think those two are pretty in line with Power. Now I'm thinking about. Probably we could bring Admech and.
I think Blood Angels is an easier army to own than top tier Custodes, because top tier Custodes is slam 9 Forge World models on the desk and paint them, whereas Blood Angels is go ask your LGS to get you Sanguinary Guard, because that's all you need.
Right. I think I really don't want to look at event percentages, because like, who owns this army is why they're not putting up results.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's a fair thing.
I'm good with that. We can readjust.
Do we want to adjust B tier now? Because I'm already thinking that this are falling into C.
Admech falling down.
I think so.
Admech can fall down.
Yeah, they don't belong in the same level as Custodes.
I still think like Templars are like worse than Admech though. I really do.
Fine by me. Yeah. Okay.
Poor Space Marines.
Poor Space Marines. All right, we're getting spicy here.
Spicy meatballs.
Spicy meatballs. Demons. This is one where we don't actually have a lot of numbers. This one's going to be going off of feel.
Yeah. Demons are a feely kind of army. They got the Warp Storm. I really like this new codex. I think it's got a lot of ability to express player skill. I know certain players are doing a lot of great work with like Be'lakor, Scarbrand, Bloodthirster, Bloodletters, Flamers, and just bum rushing people with it. That's an amazing stat check list. Like, stat check isn't my style for 40k, but if you're gonna do it, that is a great place to do it.
Tim Penny with the super chat, making jokes in the chat. If CSM was less good, would they be less good? Tim, I think we're gonna need to wait and see. New and V, this is not pre-recorded. We are coming at you live.
That's absolutely true. Thanks so much for your super chat, Tim.
Yeah, thank you so much. Demons.
I think they're an A tier. I think they absolutely can beat Eldar. I don't know their Chaos Knight match at all. I haven't played that one, but I think it's
no idea.
Okay.
Your leadership's not great either.
You can ignore lead modifiers. I believe that's a Warp Storm thing. That's my plan for Chaos Knights.
Oh, I didn't know that's a thing.
That's one of the Warp Storms.
That's cool then.
It's one of the Warp Storms you never take, but that's when you take it.
I didn't even know that existed.
I could be misquoting that rule, but I know it's anti-Chaos Knight tech off the top of my head.
Yeah, so I'm
I put them in the same hemisphere as Craftworlds, really. I don't think they're as consistent as Chaos Space Marines. I think they have a oops, this could go wrong problem, which I'm trying to solve.
I definitely think that Demons are somewhere in A tier. I have no idea where, because we don't have event results, and we've started to get some
we don't
some
know
games.
what their potential is.
But yeah, we haven't tested them into everything. For all we know, Demons get absolutely wrecked by Craftworlds, and we just haven't played that game yet. I have no idea.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do, but like
it's also demon builds are very
different. Yeah.
The Monster Mash is just one. Like, I'm working on a totally different one, just like spamming out troops. I know that's a more popular build style. It's evolving in Australia as well. I think they're A tier. I think it's untested. Next to Craftworlds, front, behind, up to you.
I would go ahead.
Okay.
I still think Craftworlds is a little high on this, but I know you do. You like them so much.
I think Craftworlds are one of those armies where if you advocate for them because of the player skill, you don't advocate for them because they're innate power. So having someone who's passionate about Craftworlds that knows what they're doing with Craftworlds, whether it's like me or Brad Chester or something like that,
kind of,
that could definitely skew where they land on this thing. But that's the point, we're taking the player skill into account.
Right on. So, Dark Angels. More Space Marines.
So, I actually have a soft spot for the Raven Wing. I think the Raven Wing that Sasha's been running, we've gotten on the Art of War podcast, the Unbroken podcast. I've seen him running in multiple events now.
I've played it on stream quite a few times as well.
You have as well. It's not amazing.
I think you overhype it a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you, Nick. I think you haven't put it on the table. And I think that's part of it, because I put it on the table quite a few times.
Well, you're more experienced with the Space Marines. What do you think of them?
I think that Dark Angels, you get the weird thing where they have Deathwing and Raven Wing, and then Green Wing. Green Wing is not what we're ranking here.
Yeah.
Raven Wing and Deathwing are very scary. I think that Deathwing are going to struggle a decent amount in the current meta. And then, like, Raven Wing, you've got the fast things, but the fast, I'm going to go fast, kill you, shoot you, and you're going to be in trouble. That's a problem, because sometimes it doesn't work, and then you're, like, not that tough on the crackback. You're tough, but you're not that tough anymore. So I like Raven Wing. Some people are saying in the chat, Dark Angels not below B tier. Fully agreed. I think Dark Angels, if we're ranking within Space Marines, like the internal tier list I have, is that Dark Angels are better than most Space Marine chapters.
I agree.
I think they're one of the best three.
I think they're better. I think they're in B tier.
I agree. B tier is where I want to land them.
Yeah.
I actually have them just below Custodes personally.
I think that's fine. That's reasonable. Yeah. I was going to put Custodes in A tier for a minute, so definitely below Custodes by that.
Yeah, I think Custodes, I could justify putting them the bottom of A tier, but I think by the time we're done filling out the tiers, I think Custodes would be an army that we're dropping back down to B.
And we'll find out.
But we'll kind of see how that is.
We got a super chat from Icarus DV.
Ooh,
it's
thank you.
20 CHFs. Don't know what that is, but thank you for your support. Met/page you guys on the WTC. Real gentlemen and professionals in this game. Love your work. Keep going. Thanks so much for your support. Really means a lot.
Thank you, Icarus. We appreciate that very much.
We do try.
I'm wondering who Icarus is. Did I play Icarus? I don't know.
I played Icarus.
You
played
Icarus. Fair enough. All right, Nick. This one I want to hear your opinions on. Death Guard.
Death Guard. All right, so these got way better in the Nephilim update.
They did?
Spread the Sickness secondary, even better. Despoiled Ground, unfortunately worse. Free Weapon Plague Marines. I don't.
That was a big
big
deal.
So, Unfortunately, Death Guard are just exaggerating the things they're good with now, and they're really good at the stuff they're good at. They're super durable compared to for some factions to handle. They are really devastating in close combat. They are very challenging to engage in close combat if they build for it. Mortarion is still Mortarion to a lot of factions. They still fall into a bit of a stat check problem for me, though.
Yep.
They have mobility issues. That's still there.
Yeah.
And we do say movement is king in this game. And they're still vulnerable to mortal wounds. Those Plague Marines, they go up against mortal wound spam like Thousand Suns or something else. Oh, man. Yeah. It just hurts.
Sometimes Death Guard find a damage 2 army with AP 2 and 3, and they laugh them off the table.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're like, oh, you have AP 4, D6 damage, ignore covers. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to shoot you from out of range.
I think Death Guard, they're such a hard army to rank because
is.
there are some armies that they will just steamroll right over with no questions asked.
Yeah.
And there are some armies they like can't participate with in the game still.
Yep.
I'm thinking like, what does a Death Guard army do to a Tau or a Craftworld army?
Yeah, Tau into Death Guard in particular, that sounds terrifying.
Just walk slowly into your death. I mean, I don't. They'll come find you and shoot you. There's nothing. I don't know. Tyranids similar.
Yeah, mortal wound output is devastating into Death Guard. That's a real thing to watch out for.
I would put them in a similar camp to Blood Angels. I think they stat check a lot of people. Do it a little bit differently than Blood Angels do it. Blood Angels do it with Sanguinary Guard and cover for a turn, then you're in combat. Death Guard do it more over the course of the game.
Death Guard probably have slightly better secondaries, but then Blood Angels are more mobile and mobility. And I think Blood Angels have more ability to express player skill.
Yeah.
Death
Guard are very immalleable, which is a factor against the Fabius Bile, as I put it. But I also like flexible players like Tellar and Demons. They kind of stick to their plan and they just execute it, and it works or it doesn't.
Yeah, Death Guard to me that seems like a real meta call. Like we've seen Death Guard win GTs. They're not incapable of crossing the finish line, but it feels like to win a GT, you have to not play against one of a couple things. And if you're trying to dodge hard counters, some people will, and they'll make it through. But if that's the game plan, I feel like that's not a top army. So for me,
definitely not a top army.
I could see them in B tier. I don't see them cracking A.
They're not cracking A. Yeah. I think they're better than Admech. I think they're better than Black Templars.
Yeah. I for sure put them ahead of both of those.
So they're falling into B tier. I think they're a little bit better than Custodes. Probably.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, they have a very good matchup into Custodes, so if they're ranked close, it's like,
Well, I would say they have a good matchup into Blood Angels, despite the fact that I think Blood Angels is a better army.
Agreed. So, they do match up well into Blood Angels. If I saw them playing, I would say, oh, Death Guard players got this.
We could get... I think they belong either in front of Blood Angels or behind Blood Angels. Definitely in front of Custodes. It would be whether or not we think the head-to-head is more valuable than the speed.
I think it gets you... So I think the speed is important. I think that Blood Angels have just more top finishes than Death Guard.
They do.
So I'm willing to slot them right there in B tier.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Which is quite a rise in the stock of Death Guard. They are trending. They're trending upwards. All right. This is a tough one.
Drukhari. So this is a faction that started out cleanly in S tier and then got nerfed and stayed in S tier and then got nerfed and probably stayed in S tier, and now they've gotten nerfed. They stopped getting updates. The game has evolved around them quite a bit. So it's not even just that they've gone down, it's that everyone around them has also risen. If we're looking at Drukhari in context of what is currently in S tier and what is currently in A and B, I think they're better than everything in B tier. Maybe not Custodes. They'd have games.
Think they're better than Blood Angels?
I think they would beat Blood Angels in a head-to-head. I think they're probably about...
Jack's going to hear this, you know?
Yeah, there's a reason we didn't pair Sean into Dirk Eldar the entire WTC. I'm a rusty wrench when it comes to these things. I would say...
They're hard to rank.
They're hard to rank.
Yeah. There is still that...
I don't think they're better than anything in A tier.
No.
I think they'll lose to literally... They might beat Demons, but that's because Demons have weird stuff going on with their
Demons
codex.
are weird. That doesn't necessarily reflect much of Dark
Demons
Eldar.
could lose to Space Marines that brought enough infiltrators, you know?
I do actually think that Demons have trouble with Space Marines.
Well, they do.
Yeah. But they beat everything else.
Yeah, but Space Marines have trouble with the game. So,
I
think Drukhari... I'd put them at top of B tier, personally.
Like top of B ahead of... All right. Some people are advocating for low A tier. Top of B, low A is basically the same thing. I'm okay with top of B.
Where do you think they would go? Without my opinions.
So without your opinions, I was going to put them somewhere in B tier. I think they're, again, you know, I like my numbers. They're an above 50% win rate army. They don't have a ton of top finishes. I think that they have a problem where every competitive player knows exactly what Dark Eldar do.
Yeah.
Because we just had to crank out games from it. Like, every time I play against Dark Eldar, I'm like, yes, it's like I'm playing a 1,500 point game, except I still get 2,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know every rule in your book because I've played 40 games into you.
It's also part of the problem to Dark Eldar right now is that they only have so many units that actually hit hard in today's meta.
Yeah.
They struggle to kill vehicles because their source of Dark Lances just isn't that great. Incubi are still awesome. Their characters are still great, but that's, you're really relying on those 3 characters and 3 into Incubi to do just about all of your heavy lifting, and that's not enough.
Yeah. I'll freely admit, I would put Dark Eldar towards the bottom end of the B tier.
Really?
I know. I don't think they're better than Custodes. I don't think they're better than Death Guard.
I do agree. I don't think they're better than that specific Custodes list, but that's the one list. And if we're putting in event results, the fact that people don't own it, I mean, if we're talking that Custodes list, I think that Custodes list played by you is probably top of A tier. But that's if we're doing maximum potential, that's where we should put it. I did crush WTC, John.
I did all right. But I still lost to the armies above me.
I do agree Drukhari is worse than Custodes. My gripe is with Custodes placement, not Drukhari's, though.
That's fair. I mean, we could put Custodes a little bit up. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I actually don't love Drukhari into Blood Angels. But I haven't played either side of the matchup, so I'll trust you since you played that a couple of times. I'm okay leaving them top of B. If you had asked me in a vacuum, I would have gone bottom end of B, but I think in B tier is okay for them.
I definitely think they're better than Death Guard and Dark Angels.
I agree with that.
So then the question is the Custodes sandwich in my mind.
I think they're worse than
put them on the
Blood
other side
Angels.
of Blood Angels.
Yeah,
That's
I would
fine.
put Blood Angels ahead of Drukhari. We could, flex Drukhari, Custodes, Death Guard, that trio. Seems like a little bit of flex. I think we're in agreement. Blood Angels top of B, Dark Angels bottom of B for right now.
I think we're good with that.
Okay. Well, we can kind of flex these around at some point if you want. I don't know if you want to rank some other armies first.
Let's keep ranking. Let's
do it.
We'll readjust as we readjust.
Deathwatch.
John, all I know about Deathwatch, I've actually played them a few times. They are the weirdest Space Marine chapter. They kind of do them all.
Deathwatch is the hardest Space Marine chapter to rank.
For sure.
Because a lot of what you consider is the Army of Renown list. You're not just looking at, how does Deathwatch the Codex do? It's how does the specific Deathwatch Army of Renown list do? Because that is almost always what you see with Deathwatch. And that trick to auto wound with a bunch of bolter hits and just be like, oh no, you have defensive mechanics. Bellicors takes 45 saves. And it's like, oh, he's dead. Yeah. That ability that Deathwatch have is amazing, but it's on an elite army that's not really much more durable than a normal Space Marine. Their secondary game is a little better than normal Space Marines, but not that much. It's tough. Where
they're a slow shooting Space Marine army that is very expensive, very durable,
and it's fast a couple times, but it's not fast for the whole game.
I think the challenge to Deathwatch is that when you spend 150 points to OBSEC missile trade with stuff, that's terrible trade downs, even though you are stealing objectives. Because everyone steals objectives. Yeah. And you're spending more points to do it than other people.
Yep.
So then the other strengths they have is that they have these super powerful combo units, which is great. But they struggle because they're kind of inflexible, right? Yeah. So, oddly enough, because Deathwatch is a flexible chapter. You take a unit like 5 plasma inceptors and 5 heavy intercessors and stick them together, and it's like this unit is kind of anti-synergistic in that it's different speeds, its range brackets don't really make sense. It's an unwieldy unit to use.
If you can juggle it all, you get rewarded. Yeah, I think Deathwatch are probably one of the Space Marine chapters that this skill of the pilot matters most for. But
let's assume you're the best player in the world for this, because I think someone who's not really accustomed with Deathwatch, just toss them into C.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a real good Deathwatch player, you've got the reps. I think that they poke right along Dark Angels tier.
I was leaning for
they're distinctly above Admech and Black Templars still. Agreed. But I still don't think that they are better than a top player on Custodes or Drukhari or Deathwatch.
Agreed.
Even though they probably beat some of those things, Deathwatch has really weird matchups. I think Deathwatch completely dumpster demons, by the way.
Totally agree.
I think I could beat you 10 out of 10 times, but I think I would lose to a lot of the things that your demons would beat.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to rank them.
This is the matchup element of this whole thing. Yep. I would put them ahead of Dark Angels personally. I'm okay with them behind.
Yeah, I think that they are basically tied. We could flip it, and I wouldn't wouldn't really regret it at all.
The D's in the B tier.
Yep. But the Grey Knights are not going in G tier, for that does not exist.
So Grey Knights are an army. I actually have no idea what their win percentage is. I know.
I actually don't either.
Oh, that's a first.
Yeah, no, I really don't.
I would say that Grey Knights are relatively specific and niche in build options, which will be a point against them in the bonus point category.
Yep.
They do have an amazing secondary game because Teleport Strike is actually phenomenal, and so is Psychic Ritual, whatever it's called. Psychic Communion? No. Warp? No.
Purifying Ritual?
Purifying Ritual.
Okay.
That one.
Didn't really know where you were going, so I was curious.
You did know. You guessed it.
Yeah. Wasn't sure until then.
Richard's been putting up results with this Paladin build. Now, that's relatively new and untested. Most other people haven't been putting up results with this Grey Knights. They do make good use of Armor of Contempt and 2-up saves and cover. That's the same. They have Mortal Wound defense built in, and they have a better secondary game than every single other Space Marine chapter.
Yep.
For those reasons, I think they are the best version of Space Marines. Whether or not they...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I think that they are worse than several of the Space Marine chapters we put up.
Really?
They're not that good in combat.
They're fine.
They're fine in
They're
combat.
fine enough. They're not... I wouldn't call them good at combat. They're fine.
Yeah, their shooting has felt anemic.
The shooting is anemic.
And, like...
Bolters.
Yeah.
So here's my thinking with Grey Knights. You teleport strike to get like 12 points to the game, maybe 15 if you can pull it off 4 times. It's really not hard. You really just gate a unit of Terminators and finish a unit, and that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Like your army shoots and brings a squad to small, and then you shoot the gated unit at it, and it dies. Now this requires your opponent to have something killable.
Yeah.
But most armies do take chaff units, vehicles that bolters will eventually get through, especially with Grey Knight buffs. Mortal Wounds in the psychic phase can really degrade units, and then you finish it in the shooting phase. So that's Teleport Strike. And then Psychic Ritual just finishes itself. Like, that thing is free money. And then we have the last secondary, which I guess can be challenging, but you can just R&D with Grey Knights really effectively with all the
raise banners. You could do
banners.
Yeah. I was going. I'm going to be honest here. I was going to put Grey Knights in C tier.
I will not stand for that.
I
was between B and A.
Well, they're not going in A tier. What? But like they're not
John,
getting.
I was considering taking Grey Knights, but I haven't played in a year to Crucible this weekend. Really went through my brain.
I would love to see it. I would love to see that. All right, we're going to be in disagreement here. So I don't know how we're going to settle this. Maybe we flip coins. Maybe we pause the stream, go play a game of Warhammer, come back.
Yeah.
Everyone in favor of that?
Real quick. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, real quick. This will only take me like half an hour, I promise. I think that Grey Knights aren't very good at shooting, have a get shot problem. Their secondary game plan is okay, but they give up secondaries because they often give up no prisoners and War the Witch.
I disagree with that last part.
I'm also judging this on the last 4 games I've played into Grey Knights.
I disagree on that last part. I think taking no prisoners and taking Abhor the Witch is an ultra trap against Grey Knights unless you're playing an army that's super designed to kill you. And most armies are not designed to kill Grey Knights. Like, armies have guns, armies have damage output, but I promise 20 paladins hiding behind walls does not just die. You've now taken no prisoners and Abhor the Witch. You have to overextend to go get those points, and then you die trying.
I genuinely think they just die.
Slap them in B tier. We're going to disagree.
All right. I will put them in B tier under protest. Reddit, go ahead and tag Nick Nanavati on this one. I have no part of this. I put them in C tier.
They are ahead of Deathwatch. They are ahead of... They are behind Custodes. That's where they are.
I'm just being nice to you because you're in charge of my paycheck.
I will take that. That's, it's good to be king.
Goodness. All right.
Let us know what your thoughts are in the chat. Leave a comment, like this video, subscribe. Dislike it if you agree with John. Like it if you agree with me. Don't actually do that.
No, please don't.
Please don't do that.
I don't want this to be negative.
No, like the video, leave a comment. Let us know what you agree with, disagree with. Let me know that you think Grey Knights are definitely an S tier army. It would really mean a lot.
Yeah, well, let us know in the comments. I want to see what people... You know what? Could we make this a vote? Could we get like a pub sub on like what the chat thinks?
I am not using the paycheck card, Jay Hunt. John pulled it on himself. Pub sub on... No, I don't want to bring it.
All right,
the internet's
fine.
just going to cost me money.
That's how it works, yeah. All right. Well, we're getting up to Genestealer Cult, and now it's getting interesting. Genestealer Cult's another army where they've been working their way up. They've been working their way up in all aspects recently without getting any buffs at all. Their win rate is rising. They're getting more event representation as far as top finishes. Wow, that's a lot of C tier.
It's a lot of B tier too. Grey Knights, hard underrated. Grey Knights, there was one above that.
Top C,
maybe bottom
C,
B,
Pole, solidly C,
Yeah.
C.
You're just, you know,
C.
we can just continue to read the chat.
You see Grey Knights and B.
There seems to be a disagreement amongst the chat,
Indeed,
much
indeed.
like the one amongst us. Interesting. Perhaps you should all leave comments for the algorithm gods.
Indeed. All right, so here we go with Genestealer Cult. Genestealer Cult, I think they get a lot out of the top player with practice bonus point, where a top player with Genestealer Cult, who has a lot of reps with them, can do quite well. They're a hard army to play, but they're putting up pretty good results recently.
Clown mode, $2 super chat. Grey Knights A tier. Money talks. Put them in.
All right, man. The chat is still going off on this. There is.
They really are.
Can we put a poll?
We've got quite a few A's as well. We've got a lot of B's, a lot of
Create
C's.
a poll.
Oh, A, B, C. A,
All right,
B,
I'm
C.
not going to put S or D in.
No, they're not in contention here.
All right,
This
no,
is
we
great.
are. This is good.
This is great.
Yep.
This is the beauty of doing live content.
A tier. We will revisit this soon.
And then we're going to move it at the end based on this poll.
We
You can
absolutely
literally
are.
can choose where
Yep.
this goes.
Yep,
This
nope.
isn't the Art of War tier list. This is your tier list.
Boom. Poll is in. Give us those votes. Sorry, everyone. It is hard to count the chats.
Another
Zoop Doop
super
with
chat.
the
Grey Knight C tier. Well, it's splitting the difference and putting them in B.
All right. Well, we will rank them soon, for we are going to get a lot of votes, hopefully, in this poll. We'll check on that result in a second.
No, Thousand Suns are at the end of the list on the bottom there. Wait, it's not. It's showing up on our thing, but it's not showing up on.
Yeah,
screen.
we
They're
do
there.
have
They're
Thousand
there.
Suns. Don't worry. Scram's giving us that super chat for the paycheck.
Paycheck.
Thank you, Scram. I want this bonus directly reflected. I'd like to see it on the note. All right, really excited to see what this tier list kind of ends up at. But let's talk Genestealer Cult for a little bit while we let the community decide Grey Knight's fate.
Beautiful.
So Genestealer Cult, I'm actually inclined. I think in our last tier list they were probably in like C or D tier. They were low.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're gonna make it quite up. They might honestly get up to A tier. Like Genestealer Cult's doing well.
So I don't know what their faction win rates are. I think they're probably being dragged down by people who.
They broke 50.
They broke 50?
They've broken 50 on the weekends. I think their overall is pretty close.
That's pretty impressive, actually. Because
Yeah.
I thought they're a very hard to play faction, so I figured their faction is going to be quite a bit lower.
We've got another super chat from Joseph for $2. Thank you so much. I think Nick should read this one.
Grey Knights B tier.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's where I put them.
I don't know.
That's right where they are currently, which you begrudgingly didn't want to put them in there. If I recall, I'm only doing this because you're my boss, Nick, was the quote.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
But I still want him C tier.
So Genestealer Cult, without the distractions, thank you very much. I'm just going to go with maximum potential, right? That's where we have agreed to kind of do this. I think as a max potential army, Eric Lathers, I've not found a better Genestealer Cult player. He is annihilating people, which I don't understand with Genestealer Cult. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to get this man on the podcast. I think in his hands, they are like an A-tier army, similar to how in your hands, Custodes are an A-tier army. If we're going to do that, Custodes are going up too, and I'm fine with both of those, or we're going to put them in B tier right next to each other.
Yeah. I'm okay. I think Genestealer Cult in B tier it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that they're rising.
They're better than Death Guard. Death Guard need to come down below Custodes.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Death Guard need to come down below Grey Knights.
Oh man.
If anything, the poll says Grey Knights are 58% B tier, which is like smack dab in the middle of B tier.
Yeah.
Upper end of B tier, if anything.
Well, closer to C than A. So bottom half of B tier.
What are you closer to C than A?
They got more votes for C than A.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think the poll is clearly putting them in B tier.
Fine.
Which 365 votes. Thank you so much.
I would like it known that John wanted C tier.
I did want C tier. I still do, but
you're wrong and you're willing to admit
I will concede. I will concede to the majority here because clearly the community wants Grey Knights in B tier.
where they belong.
Apparently, that is where people think they belong. All right, so, yeah, so Genestealer Cult, I didn't like them.
I think they'll lose the heads up to Custodes like 10 out of 10 times.
No, 10 out of 10. It's
11 out of 10?
I was just gonna say that Custodes don't have that many guys. If you mess it up, they can easily get around them.
They can sneak the
I think Custodes, if
Okay,
you do it
okay.
perfectly, they're fine. But you don't have room for error.
A couple more super chats. Let's scroll up a bit. Oh,
All
a
right.
lot of super chats.
So many super chats. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you.
Sir Lamentations, I missed y'all's response about Custodes. What was your thoughts on the current most competitive list for the Golden Boys?
This one's all me.
Just take it away.
I got this. So, Sir Lamentations, I think that the best Custodes list is the exact same one that I took to WTC, and that is you take a patrol and you take a vanguard. You get 6 dreadnoughts in there, 3 with spears, 3 with multi-meltas out of that codex. You take a codex dreadnought with a multi-melta, 3 of them, and then you take 3 Caladius tanks. You fill it up with some Boys Men at Arms, unit of shield guard, and boom, 2 shield captains. They don't even need bikes. Put 1 on foot, 1 in Terminator armor. 2k on the dot. You give everyone a shield, and it's awesome. That list is one that we've put in the war room. So if you haven't checked that out, you can actually see me playing against Tau, something I consider to be the most difficult matchup for Custodes. We put that on the table to test it out, see how it would go. I think that was a great game to watch, actually. It ended up being a lot closer than people would have expected.
You can actually join the War Room right now, along with our amazing community, with our promo code for 50% off your first month's membership. That is Join the Community.
Yep, all lowercase. You can find that right below on our website. So theartofwar40k.com/learn more. Go check it out. But yeah, that is what I would take. 6 dreadnoughts, 3 Caladius. Take infantry to raise banners. Call it a day. It is good. All right, more super chats. Thoughts on Custodes bikes in this meta? Hashtag top of B. Thank you so much, Brian Aragon. We really appreciate your support and the cute picture of a puppy that you have your profile pic.
Love puppies.
That's beautiful. All right. Thoughts on Custodes bikes? Custodes bikes are a good way to play Custodes. I don't think that they're the best. Custodes seems to be pick a series of data sheets and skew into it. And I think that bikes are good, but they have a couple more weaknesses than dreadnoughts. So in my mind, Custodes bikes, you can make a list out of it, and if you're going to do it, go hard on bikes.
Yeah, no splashing into the
Do not.
bikes.
Yeah, I don't like splash bikes at all.
Take bikes.
Take bikes. So I think that's a good build. I think that's the second best build for Custodes.
Yeah,
I like my Caladius. I like my Dreads. Bikes are good, but I like Caladius and Dreads.
If you're a normal human who's not shelling out a lot of money on 9 Forge World vehicles, maybe bikes.
Maybe bikes.
Maybe bikes.
CAK, thanks so much. Grey Knight C tier. You know what? I agree with you, but it seems that the poll's not over. 443 votes, but B tier has an insurmountable leader.
Thank you all for your support, the votes, the super chats.
Oh, Scott thinks Grey Knights are in Votann tier. We're missing it.
Grey Knights are in Votann tier. I'm with you, Scott. Votann, Grey Knights, they're both in D tier.
Yeah. All right.
Another super chat.
W Sleppy, thank you so much. Chaos Knights are the masters. Are they A tier due to a particular build, such as Abaddon the Dogwalker, or are they just strong in general? I think that Chaos Knights are strong in general, and then certain builds like Dogwalkers, I want to see more out of like Chaos Knights with Demons. I think there's a ton of potential there, but we haven't really gotten...
It's only been out for a few weeks.
It's only been out for a few weeks. I've only gotten one game with it, so I think that Chaos Knights strong in general, and they have a couple of really good builds.
Yeah.
All right, we got through the super chats. Would be a real shame if any more popped up.
No, it really wouldn't.
All right, let's hit the next faction.
Harlequins. This is one of my favorite factions to play. I think they're one of the most challenging but rewarding factions to play in 40k.
Yeah.
Their damage output has hit a wall in the game. That sucks. There are certain factions they just don't do damage to effectively at all, as noted by our Grey Knight game from last week, where I got absolutely dumpstered. So
sad.
That said, there are certain things that they do really well, and at the end of the day, they are phenomenal at playing the mission, which is where I think their biggest strengths come. Their mobility is super high. They can deliver obsec to your primary objectives and contest them and steal them all day long. They have great psyching secondary options. They can do engage on all fronts, behind enemy lines. They have deadly performance. They got the package here. I think because of Harlequin's position with lack of damage, amazing mission play, they really just try to pull that off and hope it works.
Yep.
And some armies it will work against, some armies it won't work against. Against players that you are personally better than. If you are a great Harlequin general against players who are not savvy against Harlequins, you can outplay them in circles. A lot of room for player skill expression. But me and John go head-to-head. He knows my tricks pretty well. It's pretty challenging.
Yeah. I still like Harlequins. They have good secondaries. I think that they actually have better secondaries than Craftworld, personally.
I think they're the best secondaries in the game. If not the best, some of the best.
I was going to say, like, you can't say that.
Yeah, one of the best.
Oh, some of the best, certainly. Oh, man, all these super chats.
We'll get to them in just a second. Thanks for
We're going to get there in just a second.
Let's finish up Harlequins.
Harlequins, I honestly think they're A tier. I think that their mobility and their mission play and their ability to mess with other people is still really powerful. I don't know. Like, Harlequins, they're also putting up good results. They have a good win rate. I see good people do well with them. They were a massively popular army at WTC, and they did really well.
They're a great team army because you can avoid the stat check problems, and they're an amazing defender because you just put them out, choose not to fight your bad match, or even if you do fight your bad match, you lose, you just score a million points anyway. They're a great team army. Team army, I would call them A tier for sure, but that's not the rankings here. It'd be a fun ranking video though. Best team armies. I personally think they lose to Blood Angels in like a head-to-head often. They can win that game if the Blood Angel player makes mistakes that you can capitalize on, but stat check-wise, they should lose that game a lot. I think they're about as good as Drukhari, honestly, is where I was thinking.
Well, you were going to put them in B tier?
In B tier, kind of like right around Blood Angels, Drukhari.
Oh, I was going to argue about whether or not they were higher than Demons. I was going to put Harlequins like top of A.
So here's why I don't think they're top of A.
Oh, okay.
They don't have any play into like durable Chaos Space Marine builds. Like you put 10 Terminators with the stuff in the middle of the board, and they're like, well, that sucks. Other armies can also just destroy them. Like Knights, Chaos Knights, Craftworlds can all just kill them. Now, Craftworlds versus Harlequins is a bit more of a skill match, so I don't want to just say that. But Knights can just kill them, as you have done to me.
Well, I feel like then Harlequins and Craftworld would fall into the same...
Harlequins can kill Knights much better than Harlequins kill Knights. Like, much better.
I know what you meant with that.
Yeah.
So Craftworlds...
Craftworlds can kill Knights better than Harlequins can kill Knights. And in a night battle, if you can't kill the Knights, it's really just a matter of how many points you can score before the Knights table you. And I don't think Harlequins rack up enough points before the Knights table you.
Oh man, we're getting some spicy disagreements here. This should be a pros and cons episode.
This should be a pros and cons episode. Harlequins are Elder.
Harlequins versus Elder? I mean, I want Harlequins above Craftworlds.
I would take Craftworlds to LVO 1,000 times before I take Harlequins to LVO. If it was LVOs tomorrow, in a heartbeat, that's my decision.
Oh, if you told me I had to play Elves at LVO, it would be Harlequins, no contest.
Time for a poll.
All right.
Time for a poll.
We got 532 votes in that Grey Knight one. I think we can put it to rest. They are B tier.
They are B tier. Harlequins A tier, Harlequins B tier.
Let's make a poll, and then we can address some super chats.
Absolutely.
All right. So I think it's between A or B, right?
It's between A or B. Yeah. No one's arguing for anything.
Perfect.
Except for V for Votann tier.
All right. A tier or B tier? This I honestly think I'm getting 70% on the A tier.
You can start playing Harlequins on stream, John. It doesn't have to be me.
I've offered several times.
Take them. It's
All right.
not like I don't do that.
Kid Smith Hannah is here with a super chat. Thank you so much. Sorry, not sorry for derailing this again. But I'm going to argue that Grey Knights are not only A tier, but it's because of strike/interceptor spam. You know what? That sounds crazy to say out loud, but I got to tell you, Brad Chester was whispering similar things in my ears recently. He was talking up power armor spam. And
Interceptors are an amazing data sheet.
Interceptors are great. I think 30 of them is still the way.
30 Interceptors, a battalion of strikes.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden we are at power armor spam, but that's just taking good Grey Knight units that you kind of have to take.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I want to see that on the table more.
I'm more skeptical about Interceptors just because I think power armor in terrain is not.
It doesn't always work.
But some Interceptors for some speed, and then Terminators to make use of armor contempt effectively. I could definitely see that. Thanks for your super chat.
Yeah, thank you, Kid Smith. All right, DMAC Sci-Fi Kyle here with that super chat. Thank you so much. As a dude who plays Grey Knights competitively, tier A, no. Not enough AP, no armor contempt. B, Terminator's expensive. Plus mess secondaries. All right, so DMAC seems to think Grey Knights in B tier.
He's doing $5.01.
And 1 cent. The 1 cent put him over the line. Yeah, well, B tier seems to be where they landed. So apparently I was wrong on that one. But we'll see how this Harlequin poll ends up.
Looks like some people might be in agreement.
Only 279 votes in.
We got 200 more votes coming in.
I'm sure they're all going to be for B tier, right?
They're all going to be for B tier.
Oh, up to 80.
Okay, you know what? I can admit when the internet disagrees with me. Not when I'm wrong. Certainly not that.
Certainly not then. I was going to, so again,
I
Demons
will
are
die
the-
in this chair if they're ahead of Craftworlds. Harlequins are Craftworlds.
They're
That's
so
the new
much
poll.
better.
That's the
They're
new
so much
poll.
better than Craftworlds.
They are not. They are
They
just
so
not.
are.
They are not.
Nick, I will play that matchup against you. First game with Harlequins post nerf, I'll play that against you, and I will put a sub on the line.
See,
This should be
in
the
a
one-
head-to-head, I think it's 50-50. I think they are both very similar lists that try to do similar things, and they're both very skill-intensive. But against the field, Craftworlds is a better army.
Oh man, I look. It's all right.
You just don't like Eldar.
That's true.
And the bias is very showing.
No, I really think Harlequins are better. But it's all right. If you want to make a poll of it, feel free. If you want to...
You're the button clicker. I cannot feel free. What am I gonna
Would you like me to?
type over here?
Would you
Yeah,
like me to?
I would.
All right. Harlequins or Craftworld, which is higher?
Which is a better army
right.
against the field?
All right. So we're calling that one over.
We've settled on A tier.
Yeah. Harlequins or Eldar or Craftworlds, let's be clear. Which is higher. Man, introducing polls has been like a game changer.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
And before we would just disagree and be salty
Harlequins or
about
Craftworlds, which is higher. All right, so Harlequins, Craftworld. I am excited for this one.
We got Harleys and Nids and S tier from the chat. That's a take from 6 months ago.
All right. Harlequins or Craftworlds, which is higher? All right. We'll wait on this one.
Let the polls poll.
All right. And meanwhile, this is a very important one. We just have to discuss Imperial Fists.
Straight to D tier. If there's a reason to have D tier, it's for this faction.
God bless Imperial Fists. I am so sorry.
To
all of you.
Ignore's
Imperial
cover
Fist
is a great rule.
All right. Zlack Onion wants us to stop fooling around. $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Zlack Onion. Let's stop cat fooling around. Which armies would climb higher in the tier list if you added flash kits to their codex? I think Imperial Fists want flash kits the most because flash kits probably have bolt weapons because they've looted them. So you take your flash kits, you give them exploding sixes, ignore cover, and also chapter master probably. Flash kits should be core. They have pirate hats. That's core to like my heart.
I just bought a pirate costume.
You're the flash kit. All right, I think Flash gets an Imperial Fists S tier. Ignore cover, exploding sixes, chapter master, lieutenant. Done.
I also think if Orks had access to flash kits, they would be a better faction.
Imperial gets S tier.
All right, let's keep it going. We got Guard. This is one of your factions, the Astra Militarians.
All right, Imperial Guard. They've been rising. I still think that they've got some real problems, but they're on the rise. They just keep getting buffs, and eventually they add up. They still have a big problem with just getting tagged. There are certain playstyles that just kind of invalidate them. But Guard do cool things. I would be inclined to put them at the top of C tier ahead of Admech.
Top of C tier ahead of Admech. So
I would put them ahead of Admech.
I just hate giving it to Guard, not because I dislike Guard, but because they have such a mono strategy to the game. They shoot you, and they screen, and it works, or it really doesn't. And most of the good armies in the game can just play around it. Some armies fall victim and just die. Yep. Whereas Admech, while they are super, super tough to play and don't have a lot going for them, they have multiple dimensions to the army. They can build differently. They can add combat. They can Cerberus Raider people. Taraxi.
This is still C tier. But I think that Guard are better at the one thing they do than Admech is at anything.
Siegs has punched up with Admech, and this is absolutely, we're talking about ultimate player skill here for potentiality. So, you're a good Guard player. Brandon Grant's a good Guard player. If you were to put Siegs' Admech versus the Guard, Siegs on Admech, you versus Guard into the field, I think Admech would perform better.
That would be interesting, into the field.
Not into each other.
No. Yeah, Richard and I both, he takes Guard, I take Admech. Maybe.
If only Siegs kind of proved it at LVO.
I'll also freely admit, Richard is a better Admech player than I'm a Guard player.
Well, I think there's also who's playing Guard? Brett
Urbanowski, who got a top 8 at a major.
He did.
There was, as a matter of fact, there were 2 X and 1 Guard players at a 100-person event 2 weeks ago.
I mean, we're debating C tier right now.
Yeah, we're debating C tier. Right? They're in C tier, right? I'm not putting them in B. I would put them ahead of Admech personally. I would go like that. But we can go behind if you're passionate about Admech over Guard.
I'm not super passionate.
Because I'm not passionate about it.
We did just get a $7 super chat from Canadian dollars from John.
Thank you, John. No, maybe it was me. I'm a Canadian.
Maybe. For Guard to become bottom of B.
Well, John, that is bold.
Money talks, but you need some more money than that.
Oof. But Guard, they're not doing bad, but I don't think that they're doing that good.
Bonsai Kidding Gaming, who's been a member of this wonderful community, which you can join with our promo code for 50% off with Join Our Community promo code. He just said, how would you rate Tempest Scions as a standalone army? You guys rock. Keep up the awesome content. Thank you. You rock too.
Bonsai Kitty Gaming, standalone Scions are S tier on appearance. And
I think they'll lose to Imperial Fists.
Oh yeah, they absolutely
They would lose to Imperial Fists.
Yeah, it's rough out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But I do think we've reached a bit of a conclusion on this Harlequin poll, if only because not enough people have voted.
Indeed. We really only had 406 votes in 4 minutes.
Yeah, so probably inconclusive. But I would
inconclusively, Harlequins are like more than double the votes of Craftworlds.
2 is double 1. That's a way to phrase perspective. So Watchers in the Dark just sent us a $5 super chat. Went to a 20-man RTT with 6 guard players and hit them every round with Triptide.
Oh man.
They killed all my infantry, but Shadow Sun Tech just won me the game. Yeah. Shadow Sun Tech into the guard, John.
Yeah, they just can't shoot her from more than 12 inches away, and then they can't shoot her, and then they can't shoot her, and then they...
So Guard's got some problems.
Guard's got some problems.
Talk about another type of shooting army, though. We've got the Iron Hands, the shootier of the Space Marine builds.
I'd say the shootiest.
You think they're shootier than
Ravenwing? I think they're the shootiest. Oh yeah, I think they shoot harder than Ravenwing. I like Iron Hands a decent amount. They've had
some good work with them.
Yeah, they've had some good runs in Europe. Nassim Fouchain has actually put in quite good work with them. But I got to tell you, he did not submit them to LGT. He went with Tau. He liked shooting people, and he liked that more than Iron Hands, apparently. I don't know. Iron Hands, I think they're definitely a top half Space Marine chapter. I think that they're right around Dark Angel tier. I actually would put them ahead, if I'm being honest. But Iron Hands do have a real CP problem.
I would accept them right in that Dark Angel
Deathwatch
area.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. I also want to take a second to talk about John's $14 super chat now.
Thank you, John.
To get those guard up and B. Is this enough? John, at what point can you be bribed? I think this bribery gets them ahead of AdMech.
It gets them ahead of AdMech.
Definitely ahead of AdMech.
But not to bottom of B?
That's a steep price point.
Take the screenshot, John.
Take the screenshot. This is for you. Well, it's up there now. They can pause and rewind. It's already in. Put them in S tier. Screenshots, internet, screenshots.
Put it on Reddit. Yeah, I'm quite high on Iron Hands, but they are a little bit of a they're a bit of a mono build. Yeah, they have a CP problem, but they do shoot very hard. You can still make the hardest shooting army. They actually are. They're not getting a ton of event results, but they are getting occasional event wins. The win rate's not great because I think shooting Space Marines is pretty easy to lose with. But then they occasionally break through. Like,
John, I think Deathwatch can come down.
I think so. I think Deathwatch can come down. Yeah. I think this is just a slow exercise in dropping Space Marine chapters, unfortunately.
I think Grey Knights are definitely better than Iron Hands as well. But as evidenced by some of our people thinking they're A tier.
Yeah, some people thought they were C tier, though. I mean, I'm fine with dropping Iron Hands a little bit more. Yeah.
So then we have the Imperial Knights.
Imperial Knights.
Wow, there's no armies between I and N. Well, let's go through that way.
There's no J or K.
L or M. Yeah. 4 letters. Skipped.
L could
There's
be
more than 26 factions here.
L could be Leagues of Votann.
How many are there? 5, 10, 15, 18, 20, 25, 28. So they skipped some letters here.
Here we go. All right.
Another super chat? Or did I... Oh, yes. Nope.
All right.
But we have a member for 6 months, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew's saying, where would you place World Eaters? My favorite faction, but sad to see it on the lower end.
I think World Eaters run into a lot of the same problems as Chaos Space Marines without having any of the, or nearly as many of the tools to solve it.
The second wound really helped them a lot compared to their previous version.
That is true, yeah.
Because they actually don't hit that soft. They do kill. They can deliver themselves okay. Not spectacularly. They're not slow. They're not fast. They're middling with speed.
Yeah.
The second one makes them at least pretend to be durable. I would put them at the bottom of B, top of C.
I would go C tier. I think that they're a little bit too much like a Marine Combat Army without like enough rules.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
More
Manny
super
Espino
chats.
with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Where would you rank Mono Slanesh and Mono Nurgle Demons in the tier list? That's tough. Mono Nurgle Demons. You've explored this a lot more than I have. My cold take on this is that mono Nurgle demons are just a little bit too slow, and sometimes they just get shot off the board, and that's all that happens.
I think mono Nurgle demons definitely has the getting shot off the board or just punched the face problem. Some things, they're not tough against some things. Their whole shtick is they have 2-1 plague bearers, and like some things are just damaged 2 in mass.
Yep.
So against that stuff, they are just going to fold. What they do really well is that they control objectives. With sloppy bile pipers, you can take multiple. You can take away obsec from your opponent, make them units count as half as many models for the number of objectives models on the objective, double the number of models on your objectives, give obsec out to play drones and things, and then just sort of be tough at people. I would rank it more as like a stat check style army, probably pretty similar to Death Guard.
Yeah.
And then Mono Slaanesh, I really haven't explored much. I do think the Infernal and Rapture just give it to play.
Yeah, I think Slaanesh has some play. I think they would end up top of B, maybe low A, but we just don't have reps with that style yet, so I don't want to commit to a letter. But my gut is that they would fall bottom of A, top of B, but they could
I would
be
go
anywhere.
bottom of B, top of B is where I'm thinking.
That's
personally.
probably
if you're willing to splash a little bit, adding just a few other gods to a
please.
mostly Slaanesh
Oh,
list
yeah, that's true, yeah.
goes so far.
I was actually thinking of like 1,500 Slaanesh and Flamers.
Oh, I was thinking Bloodletters and Corn things.
Yeah, that's also...
Trap them in combat while you're there.
Might as well. Imperial Knights.
Hold on.
Hold on. Look at all these super chats. Whoa.
We've got
Mad Lad Weiss. Thank you so much, Mad Lad Weiss. $10 super chat. They feel like Craftworlds has more utility than Harlequins.
I agree. I perfectly agree with you, Mad Lad Weiss. Unfortunately, approximately 71% of 507 people, whatever that number is.
That's like 355.
Math. Whatever that number is, they disagree with us. But you know, Mad Lad Weiss, if you are who you think you are, and I am who I think I am, we were probably right.
Maybe. Brent's a smart guy. You could be right there.
He could be.
Abro with a $2 super chat. Grey Knights F tier, Crimson Fists S tier. Go Crimson Fists. Oh, I would love that to be true.
All right, let's get back to these Imperial Knights.
Let's get to these Imperial Knights. All right, so Imperial Knights quite good. They're putting good event results in. They have a great win rate. I know you always dismiss Knights and it hurts me, but they've got really good rules for actually playing the game.
I hate that that's true, but it is true.
Yeah.
I think they're an A tier.
I think they're an A tier for sure. I think that they're ahead of Demons personally.
I would agree so here's kind of back to like army strength. Like they have more power than Demons. I will 100% agree to that.
Yep.
But I think Demons have more ability to figure stuff out when the going gets tough, especially against those good players in those tough rounds. I personally prefer having flexibility and ability to lean on my own player skill to solve my problems rather than my stats are so awesome. Some people lean into my stats will be the backbone of my list. So I think that's a bit of a personal choice. But I agree they're that Demon, Imperial Knight, I think they're definitely ahead of Harlequins, who are behind Eldar. I think Imperial Knights are better than Chaos Knights.
Yeah.
In front of or behind Demons, whatever your personal preference.
I was going to put them at the top of A for where we are right now.
I think Chaos Space Marines beat Imperial Knights.
Really?
Yeah. In like head-to-head, I think they will win. A well-built Chaos Space Marine that has ample combat and the terrain on the table, so they don't just die.
Yeah. I just like that Knights have a really good secondary game and good shooting and combat, so they can adopt either playstyle. Like when they have to get into combat, they're good at getting into combat. When they have to be a backup and shoot army, they're a great backup and shoot army. They have good secondaries as well.
I can buy it. The thing I get stuck with is that they don't really have invuls in combat. So against a combat army like Blood Angels or Chaos Space Marines or something that can actually just charge it, I want to just die.
They can have 4 invuls in combat on multiple Knights.
That's true. Depends on your build variation.
That's true. I am talking like the best Imperial Knights, which in my mind is a Freeblade Lance.
I know you like that Freeblade Lance, and I don't want to discount it, but I've seen a lot of players do well with other Imperial Knight lists, so I think the best Imperial Knight list is open to interpretation.
Yeah, I was going off of event wins. It's certainly not the only Imperial Knight list by any means, but I really like that style of Imperial Knights.
It is good. I played against it. It's quite good. So there's holes in its plan, though. Like, Sloppy Bile Piper just kind of beats down your Knight secondary in the middle of the board by himself. And Chaos Basements can just throw that in. All of a sudden, you have big problems there.
Maybe.
I don't think most people are going to do that, but I would do that. I'm planning to do that.
Planning to do that? I'd love to see it.
Because I acknowledge that Knights are a good army right now, and I need to have a legitimate plan for them, not just hand wave them away. And Sloppy Bile Piper is part of my legitimate plan.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of factors with Knights. Knights are certainly an army that cares more about the terrain. So I guess I always think of it as I know whether or not this is an event that I'm going to take Knights to when I look at the train packet.
Yeah, we're definitely not factoring in how Knights interact with terrain in this one, because certain formats they are just better.
Yep. Absolutely.
Other formats are just worst. To me, that's a factor. Like
it is a factor.
Like,
yeah,
I would definitely trust CSM in unknown environment.
I'd be fine bumping them down a little bit, but my take would have been ahead. But that's okay.
All right, I'm good with that.
So let's see here. Necrons.
If there's gonna be an army that's better than all the other armies, it's the one that's winning all the tournaments, right?
Yeah, Necrons. I actually think that they are better than their stats, because their stats are that their win rate is actually only a little bit above 50, but their secondaries are so good. They put in great event wins.
I watched Jack. I commentated Jack take Necrons, which he has never played before at Nova. Now, Jack is a phenomenal player and probably one of the best players I've ever seen when it comes to swapping armies and the drop of a hat. So take that for what it's worth. But watching Jack play Necrons at Nova, it felt hopeless for many of his opponents. Like, it's such an absurdly good secondary game.
Oh my goodness,
which forces your opponent to do something about it right off the bat. Your opponent has to get overly aggressive to do something about it. And then if you're a skilled Necron player, you just kill them because they try to do something about your plan.
Yeah. I'm inclined to put them in S.
Put them in S.
Yeah, they're definitely, they feel a level above the armies below them. Now, they have some bad matchups into the armies below them, but they also have great matchups into some of the armies below them. And I think that they're just more consistent because of the secondaries.
When I write lists for the game, for tournaments or just clients, things like that, one of the armies I need to make sure I have legitimate plans for is Necrons. I don't necessarily do that for all the other factions. I kind of have general plans for.
Yep. Yeah, that's 100% true. Yeah, Necrons straight to the top for now. All right, Orks.
All right, so neither of us really play Orks. This will be a fun one. I think the best build for Orcs still is Goth Bomb Rush. I've yet to be impressed by any other builds. I think the sneaky...
I think you put 2 planes in. And
I like the 2 planes.
Other than that, it's combat.
The question is more like specifically, do we take truck boys? Do we just go more on CP saving and detachments and things like that? What characters do we run?
It's Goth running at people. That's what matters.
Yeah, at a conceptual level for sure. So Goth running at people isn't inherently a stat check. Like it runs at you. If it goes first, that's way better for it. If it goes second, dies in its deployment zone, way worse for it. Most armies can't kill it in its deployment zone. That's really like certain Knight builds. Tau can do it. That's about it. It's very vulnerable to move, block, stall, which Eldar can do in its sleep. I've murdered many an Orc army. I went second in Hammer and Anvil versus on Scouring. Like Scouring Orcs going second and just tabled it in 3 turns with Eldar because move, block, shoot, move, block, shoot. Yeah. I think other armies will just get run right over. I've been a recipient of getting run right over by Goths plenty of times. I'd put him in B tier, personally.
You put him in B tier?
Where do you put him?
I was going to put him C, I'm not going to lie.
You hate Orcs. You genuinely think they're a bad army.
That's why I was going to put him in C, yeah.
I don't think they're a bad army. I think they are a stat check army, much like many of the stat check armies like Death Guard.
Yeah, I think like there's different levels of stat check, like I think they're a worse stat check army than Death Guard. I agree that they have that similar thing to Death Guard. I mean, I was going to suggest the relative top of C, but very bottom of B, I think I would be okay with.
I think Orcs are degrees better than Guard, even if they might lose to Guard because Guard went first and blew them up.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably are they're a more well-rounded army than Guard.
I'm thinking in that Death Guard, Grey Knight, Orc land. I think that's like a trio of armies that would have good games with each other.
Yeah, I could go ahead of some of the Space Marines. I'm okay with that.
I mean, Iron Hands and Orcs are also... I could see Iron Hands beating Orcs. Like, absolutely. If you want to put them behind Iron Hands, I'm fine with that. They definitely belong in B tier in my mind, because they're just better than the stuff in C.
Yeah, I'm okay going B tier.
Let's hit these super chats.
Let's hit them. All right. Reziel with the super chat. What's Necron's rank without superior secondaries? I mean, if the army that is a lot of their strength. So if they got a lot, it would depend on what their secondaries get changed to.
If they get changed from auto 42, maybe 45, to like just a good secondary game, they probably drop to A tier.
Yeah.
If they take all of the book secondaries that they currently have, the codex secondaries, and just say you all suck, and then you're stuck with rulebook secondaries, they'd be like B tier.
Yeah.
But they have good power in their codex. They're not super durable, which is a little off brand if you ask me.
A little bit.
But their secondary game opens up so much play opportunity because it forces your opponent into such horrible spots.
Yeah, it would be such a completely different faction. We'd have to re-rank it, frankly. But it would be a big change if that happened. Kerbo, Orks, and Wog tier or Wog tier?
Wog tier, obviously. Wog
You gotta
with a
get
G.
hyped. You gotta get hyped.
And then Shorty Yeti with a $5 super chat. Necrons, doubles a tan or go wide. Love your comment. Starts with lots of scarabs, goes Silent King and lots of scarabs. That's where you start.
Yep.
Then you add your Tomb Blades, your 15 score pack destroyers. Do whatever you want after that. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, fully agreed. All right, Raven Guard. I do think they're better than Imperial Fists.
I think they are better than everybody gives them credit for. Not to say they are good, but just to say, like, you take a Raven Guard army, you understand that you're going in not in a great spot. I think you lean into it and you take infiltration out the wazoo, and you try to just make some stuff work with that. What that looks like, I don't know. But maybe C tier? Maybe C tier? Maybe C tier? Okay.
No. Sorry, Nick.
Okay.
I'm not buying that. I mean,
I'm trying, Raven Guard players. I'm trying.
I would love to see it, but I can't do that. All right. Here we're getting spicy.
Spicy meatballs.
Spicy. Sisters. I imagine you're going to put Sisters pretty high. I'm also relatively high on Sisters. But I think that compared to where we thought they were at the beginning of Nephilim, they haven't materialized what we expected.
Well, I think Sisters are always one of those armies that are challenging to play.
Absolutely.
We typically see the same few good players do great with them. Yourself, Brandon Grant, some players in the UK, players, select players around the world you can point to. Yeah. But as a large field army, you see a lot of Sisters not doing too well. I've commentated lots of poor Sisters play in my games at the Games Workshop tournaments. I agree with you. I think they're a good army. I think they're an A tier somewhere.
They're certainly an A tier in my mind.
What problems do Sisters currently have? They have a good secondary game?
They have a good secondary game that sometimes falls apart. Usually doesn't, but on occasion it just falls apart. They are very short-ranged, and when they run into a stat that their good offense doesn't solve, they're in big trouble.
What's an example of that?
An example of that, I think that they actually... So, one, Kalades tanks. And this was me just doing good things with Custodes. But they don't love Dreadnoughts, and that's okay, because Dreadnoughts aren't that popular. But then similar things come up. If you get some other kind of -1 damage on a tough platform, they're going to struggle, in my mind, a lot into an army that has yet to be ranked or discussed or played. I think Sisters are quite good. I think that they're going to be in the upper half of A tier. I actually, oddly enough, I think that they're better than... They're honestly, they're better than most of A tier.
So I think Sisters versus Craftworlds is like a 55-45 kind of match for the Craftworlds. Could be 50-50.
Yeah, that is quite a difficult one.
That's challenging for Sisters because the Craftworlds are really good at getting angles and don't have to go into the kill zone that Sisters create. Armies that do have to go into the kill zone really just die. So I'm thinking like Chaos Knights or Imperial Knights that have to go into midfield. If the mission doesn't require it, I could see that getting more challenging for Sisters. Most missions require you go into midfield.
Yeah. I think Sisters are like top of A, honestly. I actually think
they're better than Chaos Space Marines.
I agree.
Yeah.
I actually think I feel like they're not quite up there, but then I was looking at each individual army and I'm like, well, they're better than that. Yeah, they're better than that.
They have good head-to-heads in all of them. I think it gets shaky when you get into Harlequins and Craftworlds, and then those are just skill games.
Yeah, that's just gonna be a skill one. It's never gonna be easy, but yeah, I agree. Sisters are ahead of CSM.
I think they have a terrible matchup into Necrons because Necrons do a lot of what Sisters do, but they're better at it.
Yeah, that one's tough.
Yeah.
And if they happen, things that there's like a couple different distinct builds with Necrons. They can go double flyer. That's hard on Sisters. They can go double Catan. That's hard on Sisters. It's hard, but I really like Sisters as a very strong army. I love playing them. They're super fun to play. They're very powerful. So, all right.
Got a $7 super chat from Gabriel Bootbilly.
Thank you, Gabe.
Hi, I came late to the show, so maybe this was answered, but how does Ynnari fare these days compared to the other Knife Ears faction? We were just talking about that. Ynnari actually just won a nice 70-something person tournament in Australia.
Oh, solid.
Chris Wright, one of the Eldar player for the WTC team for Australia, who they won, so probably knows what he's doing.
Good bet.
Yeah. I would say Ynnari, I really want to get him on for an interview as well because I want to pick his brains and see how he did it. My current hypothesis about Ynnari is that it's got some tricks, it's got some good play. We've done some discussions with some other players who've been successful with it. I think it's a bag of tricks for an army. So against players who aren't super familiar with how to play against it, it will overperform and really shine. And against someone who is privy to your trickery, a lot of your stuff can be played around through good list design and clever play. I think that will keep its ceiling pretty high. I'd put it in B tier personally.
Yeah, you think B tier? I think that they're quite comparable to Craftworlds. I want to see them played more. I hear people describing the tricks. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I don't have like a firm grasp of what they lose, to be honest. So I kind of want to see
They
it.
lose Craftworld traits, and I think that is a huge part of what make Eldar tick.
That is really good. That's important, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I get stuck
fair,
personally. Because you replace your Hail of Doom or equivalent to with like strikes first and +1 hit sometimes.
That's fair. All right.
Very different build.
Let's see. We've got a $10 super chat from The Gray. This is awesome. First time watcher. Thank you so much, The Gray. Make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe if this is your first time watching. We really appreciate your support. Can you explain the Black Templar ranking? I missed it. Thought they'd be higher than Deathwatch and C tier. Black Templars, for me, they run into a problem where their book is kind of built to be a stat check, where you can take your normal infantry marine and you can make it hit harder in combat and tougher. But you can't make it faster. You can't make it more deliverable, and you don't make it shoot any harder than a normal Space Marine army. So it's just the baseline for mobility and shooting out of it, and you just get you get some good combat tricks, and you get some decent durability buffs. But I think the game is still very hostile to Marines.
I think if your plan is to stress test your opponent's ability to kill you, some armies will just do it.
Some people will just be like, I can kill tougher Marines.
Yeah, and some armies can't. And then you're going to be like, my Templars are the best army in the game. No one can damage me. And then you get to a better list design, and then you just die.
No. Ooh, Shackleton Mangram says we missed their super chat. Let's scroll up. Sorry about that, Shackleton.
Shackleton, we can never miss your
for that.
super
Let's
chat.
see.
I'm sorry. There's so many super chats.
Wow, there was quite a few. And we missed two.
No,
I
wait,
don't
we
think
got-
we got Chaos Knights versus Imperial Knights? I
Oh,
don't
no,
think
we
did.
didn't.
I think we missed two. Shackleton has a question about Horus Heresy. Unfortunately, we don't have any plans for Horus Heresy in the future. So yeah, I think it just didn't quite work out. We didn't get a ton of interest on it. So
Yeah.
unfortunately for all the Horus Heresy fans out there, I don't think we're gonna be doing much more.
If you want the audience, if you want us to do more Harris Harrisburg, we totally can. Just let us know.
Absolutely.
Contact us, email us, show support for it by viewing the videos.
Yep.
That really
Put it in the
is
comments
the best
as well.
indicator. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Let us know verbally, visually, however metrically, and then we're happy to adapt our content.
Absolutely. All right, thank you for that super chat, though, and thank you, W. Sluppy. Sorry that we missed your super chat earlier. Advice for Chaos Knights versus Imperial Knights.
This is all you, John.
It absolutely is. Chaos Knights versus Imperial Knights. In my mind, if you're having trouble with this particular matchup, consider going with Worthy Offerings. That's the sweet +1 to hit against all vehicle monster characters. Worthy Offerings is awesome. I think it's highly underlooked. I think it's up there with Herpetract as one of the best ones. But I think that getting into combat quickly with War Dogs is really important, and I think allies are really important. I love Abaddon into Imperial Knights because he is actually good enough to just kill a 4-up Invul and Imperial Knight anyways. Reroll all hits, reroll all wounds, get you around the Transhuman and the Transhuman and the 4-up Invul better than anything else. So I think a Walking the Dog style list with Abaddon is absolutely where I'd go with that.
Yeah. All right, appreciate your support. Let's
Yep,
go back down
really
and see
appreciate
if
you, W.
any
Slappy.
more super chats just magically appeared.
Let's see. I think we've got them all so far. Oh,
there's some
W.
more.
Slappy with another one. Chaos Knights versus Sisters matchup. Go.
Also all John.
All right, this one's tough. Sisters, I think, have a really good matchup into Chaos Knights. But again, I think Abaddon helps a lot. I think this is where you dip into the wealth of allies that Chaos Knights have, where they can bring in so many agents of chaos, where Imperial Knights really can't. So in my mind, this is about focusing on drawing out the Retributors and being able to kill them in one fell swoop. If you turn it into a melee game, you have melee tricks. They can only commit in so many places. They're very fast on one unit with Miracle Ice. They're not fast on everything. So, W. Sleppy, I think you make a game plan around drawing out and killing the Retributors in the early game, turning it into a melee matchup where Abaddon or some other allies can really help you dominate.
I'll supplement that answer with I've seen the Sisters vs. Chaos Knights match quite a few times, and typically the dread tests actually add up quite a bit for Sisters. They can fail critical charges, which they normally plan on with Miracle Dice, and then you can really start winning the game from there. So yeah, remove the guns and then let it be a melee battle.
Nice. All right.
Couple more super chats.
Sarah the Vampire asks, thoughts on how Red Corsairs rank? Red Corsairs is one that I'm actually really struggling with, evaluating.
I think Red Corsairs are a really Harlequin-esque way to play Chaos. They are super good at dominating primary. They count as double the number of models for OBSEC. They advance and charge. To me, that screams take OBSEC units like 5-man Legionnaire squads, count them as 10 models, and go stand them on your opponent's objectives very quickly. You can couple this with warp time. You can advance and charge trickery. This is actually a lot similar to Drukhari in that your army-wide rules advance and charge. You have access
really
to
good.
not overly expensive, but more durable units that, price for model on objective. 1 Chaos Space Marine is like 18 points. 2 Dark Eldar models is like 16, 18, 20.
Yeah.
So that's pretty similar. I would approach their list build similarly. Lean into characters much like Drukhari leans into characters. And I'd probably imagine they end up in a similar rank as well.
Yeah. I agree. I think that Red Corsairs can be quite good. It's one of those factions that we haven't seen a lot of play with, but I genuinely think that they've got good rules to them, so maybe it's one that's being undervalued a little bit. I haven't played any games with Chaos Space Marines, but Red Corsairs is one of my personal favorites from a lore perspective, so maybe I'll try to give them a game sometime.
Definitely.
All right. And was there another one?
No, I think that's...
there is
more.
one
There's
more.
always more. Thank you all
Thanks
for your
so
support.
Sanoct the Tongue Twister. $2.01. Is that enough to make Sisters S tier? In my mind, no. I love Sisters. They are one of my favorite armies in the game. I think they're super good, super powerful. I think the upper end of A tier feels right for them.
Yeah, they are a degree worse than Necrons.
Fully agreed. It breaks my heart, but agreed.
Regular Space Marines, is that what we're on now?
Salamanders.
Salamanders, the iguanas. So I will say, if we're looking at players who do well armies at maximum potential, Olivier Weiss, who is soon to be joining the Art of War team for France, eventually soon.
Very nice.
He is one of the strongest players in France, and he's been doing really well with Salamanders. He made the semifinals with them at the W World Singles Championships, basically. Now he did so with 2 losses, 2 very narrow losses, so sneaking into that top 4. I think, I'm just going to use his hands the same way we describe you with Custodes or Eric with GSC, that in his hands, that Salamanders go really high. Like, he's beating factions he has no business beating in A tier. That's through player skill. But as a rules faction, I don't think Salamanders are that good. I think they belong in B, if nothing out of respect for what they can do.
I mean, I look at them like I think Deathwatch have a better rule set than Salamanders.
I don't think so. I think the built-in secondary have is actually amazing.
Yeah, they do have a very good secondaries for Salamanders.
And then they catch opponents in mistakes much better than just about any other Space Marine chapter because they're heroic intervention stratagems.
Yeah. Which
allows you to express player skill more than I think any Space Marine chapter. Maybe White Scars or Blood Angels is standing because they're so fast. But they do defensive Space Marines, I think, the best, actually.
Yeah.
And to me, that puts them ahead of Dark Angels or Iron Hands. But, I could be persuaded otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it was that Salamanders, they have a good secondary, which helps a lot because Space Marines have secondary troubles, but they're very slow, and they're a little bit more durable because they have the no reroll wounds, but they're not that much more durable than a standard Space Marine. I was thinking, like, top of C around a Deathwatch tier.
I think that'd be a fine place to put them if Olivier didn't put up results.
But we do have some people putting up good results with Deathwatch as well. I unfortunately don't know names offhand, but like Deathwatch do have occasional, top 8s with X and 1s with, the Army of Renown. Like most armies put an occasional thing, but I was thinking like the top of C tier was okay, but like you want them like here.
I think right there in between Dark Angels and Iron Hands. I could see even below Dark Angels. I feel like we always put Salamanders in C tier, and they are putting up better results than C tier.
I mean,
and the few results they put up that are good.
Yeah.
I don't think C tier can punch up into A tier, and I think Salamanders can.
Yeah, if that's a way to look at it. Well, by that logic, then Deathwatch I think would be B tier.
They started at B tier.
They did start there, yeah. I'll do it. I'll admit I'm not thrilled about it, but
let us know what you think. This is a bit of a controversial choice.
Yeah,
I will definitely admit I'm not super passionate about it. I just feel like we always overlook a lot of the Space Marine chapters because none of us particularly put up results with them.
Yeah. All right, we've got a couple more super chats to address. Thank you so much, everyone. Bonsai Kitty Gaming with a $5 super chat. Thank you. Let's say that I have a friend who has 1K of Scions built, primed, and 90% painted for doubles tourney. Any tips outside of praying to the Emperor? Scions are very monodimensional, and they're not actually terrible at what they do, which is a short range shooting deliverance that really needs to work. So you need to pair them with someone who's going to line up with that. So someone who either is going to have a little bit of backfield holding, because Scions don't particularly do that.
Yeah.
Or someone who is going to also go fast and shoot people, and you try to build around that. We have Scions go in, contribute short range shooting while screening out something like Tau. And, because you can have like Valkyries dropping people in, you can play MSU all over the board with a bunch of special weapons hidden. You can do a bunch of things like that. So I think that Scions in teams you can make almost anything work. It's all about figuring out what your army does and what you're building for, and then asking your teammate to help build around that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the chat's spoken that I have been too nice to my iguana friends. And I think they're going down to C tier. Top of C tier. I think they're better.
Okay, we can do that. That's fine.
Do that.
Prime and Go, Chaos Knights versus Tau. How would you play Chaos Knights?
Thanks so much for your super chat, Prime.
Really appreciate you. It is all about applying pressure and trying to remove their damage output as quickly as possible. I think Chaos Knights can't afford to just sit back and be shot forever. Yeah. You can go blitz them. You can also blitz them not necessarily at full speed. We actually had a game in the Worm a couple months ago where I played my Chaos Knights into Richard Siegler's Tau, and I actually did quite well with the Chaos Knights, not by running straight at him, but by hiding what I could, and then making him spread out and kind of like removing threats one or two at a time, and then doing a late game blitz when he didn't have enough to overwhelm me all at once.
I think as well with that, you just don't want to get yourself in a shootout with Tau. Definitely
you can't do a long range.
You pay points to be tolerable, good in close combat. Even go use that.
Tau hate dread tests, by the way. Tau hate dread tests.
Oh yeah,
love that.
George Bloater.
Ooh, George Bloater, $5 super chat. With Votann greatly hindering Custodes and Imperial Knights, what are some list ideas / playstyles to counter how the top armies will shift to try to beat Votann? George Bloater, I think we could commit an entire video to that subject, because that is a very lengthy topic.
Is it inconsiderate to say we should really just wait for FAQs or balance data sheets, because Votann is Votann at the moment?
Votann is pretty crazy right now, not going to lie to you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where you would start. You would start with getting lucky, I guess. Like, take guns that can kill them and then hope it works.
I would, if I were trying to build an Imperial Knight list to try to have more play into Votann, I would shift off of the Freeblade lands, even though I think it's better into the field, into the type of list that puts out more Mortal Wounds. Because Mortal Wounds are great into Votann. They have very little defense into Mortal Wounds, barely any at all.
Yeah.
If you get to hit first with that and then put a lot of Mortal Wounds on key targets, you can do a lot of damage to Votann with Mortal Wounds and flipping dice to 6s. I think you're still going to struggle to deliver that combo, but if I was trying to beat Votann with Imperial Knights, that's probably what I'd do. What I think is more likely is that I still build a list for the field. And I cut out Layla the Tyrants because I don't need those rerolls anymore. And try to build around just secondary play and doing as well as I personally can do in a tournament.
Right. We got one more from John Thesian.
We've
got many more. Never mind. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just hit these at the end. Do you think?
No, I think we got to do it. We got to power through. John Thesian with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. You want me to read this? Sisters.
Read it up.
Would you rank non-Bloody Rose orders differently? Currently building my first army, planning on running Argent Shroud. Thanks for the great content. I would say that every non-Bloody Rose order drops an entire tier. I think that Argent Shroud and Martyred Lady each have some interesting aspects to them that do have play. It's not that they're illegitimate, but they are not at the same level as Bloody Rose.
In my mind, Bloody Rose is the Sisters list as the opposition.
Our Martyred Lady does have some cool things that I actually really like. You need a couple more named characters to really make it work, but it's cool.
Judith?
No, absolutely not.
She's the Martyred Lady character.
And you still don't take her.
But
Argent Shroud, probably the third best. Still an above average army. I still think Argent Shroud is good, but Bloody Rose is queen.
And then we've got JC Schmerlef. I'm behind, but Quins are clearly one of the best 3 armies in the game. Their event wins per player or games played is second best, just behind
Creations of Bile, S+. I
disagree with that.
If there's ways to look at it. If you go by the numbers game, it's not like Quins are amazing. They have a great win rate. They have good event results.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think
but you're not a numbers guy.
I think Quins put up results at tournaments numerically because they are a challenging army to play against. They have so much tricks, like bag of tricks. And if you're a skilled Quinn general, you know your tricks. Your opponent doesn't know your tricks. You're going to dance all over them, put up the W's. You put me into John Lennon and he's playing something and I'm playing Quins. We've done that match many times. Go watch it on stream. He sees through my tricks.
I see through your lies, Nick.
I
I see through your deceptions.
You're welcome to play the Quins next time.
I don't like that argument because I can't disagree with it. Like, what am I going to say? Is like, no, Nick, I'm not good enough to beat your tricks. Like, I'm not going to say that.
He's not going to see. It's called winning over here.
He's playing to my ego. That's unfair.
It does work.
It does work. Yeah.
Unborn Pants with a $2 super chat. Worst matchups for Levy Warrior Brick Build. It's just another stat check. Anything that beats it on the stat check front. What is that?
Auto wounds on hits, Deathwatch. Auto wounds on hits, Leagues of Votann. Mortal wound spam, we'll get there eventually. 3 damage in volume, Helverins.
Tau will kill it too fast.
Tau can kill it too fast. Anyone who can put in a really good volume of hits, or has good reroll to hits, or to wounds, or has auto wound mechanics.
Yeah.
Levy warriors are great into conventional shooting. When you take an unconventional element on top of a good shooting army, like Kauyon, like judgment tokens, like honestly the darn guard roll 6s to hit auto wound, actually kind of scary for Levy warriors.
Honestly, even just like Genestealer Cult and Sisters, armies that can, because you expose your warriors, you don't have screens and that, they can choose their engagements really effectively with you. You're so vulnerable to like mass shots that Genestealer Cult produce. Shotguns at strength 4 +1 of wound will just murder warriors actually.
Yeah.
And then Sisters, you have to walk into their kill zone.
You never want to be in the kill zone, and they can get real wounds, which
Yeah.
is very important. All right, more super chats. Mad Lad Weiss, thank you so much, Brandon, for that $5 super chat. Tau usually beat Knights hands down. Unless Hammerheads roll 1s to wound into more 1s. That usually doesn't happen. Good Tau wins. I think that Tau have a really good matchup with Knights. I have nothing to disagree with.
No.
Brenton, you are correct. I will probably reflect that when we rank Tau soon.
Even with your lost condition for the Tau, we paired Jack's Tau into Knights. We seeked that matchup out all through WTC.
We tried to make it happen.
And it worked for us all but one game, and in that game, it's because we did not connect with railguns ever.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
More super chats. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, here we go. We've got one from Amic Sam. Thank you so much for that Canadian super chat. Bloody Rose are S tier MIO. You guys are great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your support. And again, if you think we're great, 1, we love you. 2, hit that like button. Maybe subscribe. You know what? You could even go to that link below. Check out the War Room. There's a lot more Art of War content. If you're loving this, there is always more to see.
And please, for the love of Bojangles, let us know how handsome we are in the comments. Our fragile egos will crumble without that.
Likes for the comment throne?
Likes for the comment throne.
There we go. Neil Adams with a super chat. Boom. If I wanted to add some Chaos Knights into a Black Legion army, would you recommend Carnivores, Stalkers, or Executioners? You know what, Neil? I would say Brigands.
Brigands.
So I think that Chaos Space Marines in general, because their army has really good combat units, I don't think you need Carnivores, even though they're very good. Carnivores are great, so don't get me wrong. Stalkers, great. But both of those are combat units. Stalkers also bring some guns, which is useful. Executioners bring a lot of guns, and Brigands bring a lot of guns. I like Brigands because it gives you the mix of anti-infantry and anti-tank, where it gives you the thermal spear and the chain cannon, whereas Executioners are all in the middle with the Helverins.
Right.
So I say Brigands, but Executioners also really good. I think Executioners want access to relics more. Brigands are just good stats. Shoot good stats at people.
All right.
Thank
you all for your super
Thank you
chats.
so much. We appreciate that. We're on the other side. Time to rank Space Wolves.
My saga.
A sad awoo indeed.
We're gonna get going on that saga one of these days.
One of these days.
We're a little newborn pup. You can't throw us out into the wilderness just yet. Part of my reason for slowing the saga is perhaps because Space Wolves really aren't. I've not found how they do.
They're not salamanders.
They're not salamanders.
I don't think they're Deathwatch either.
I think they are better than Imperial Fists and Raven Guard.
For sure. Yeah.
I think you beat my Space Wolves with your Imperial Guard.
Yeah.
I think I would have an interesting game with Siegs' Admech. We did have an interesting game with Siegs' Admech, actually. It was a real narrow. I think it was a draw, honestly.
Yeah.
This is like a month or two ago.
It could be right. I think they could fall right in that area.
Let's put them right in that area.
Yeah. I think so. How good or bad are Space Wolves? Jaime Paris is a Tyranid player now.
So Tau.
Tau. All right. Tau. This is an army where the numbers lie.
What are the numbers? I don't know the numbers.
They have a below 50% win rate.
That's a lie.
But they have more event wins and top places than almost every army in A tier.
So let me start with this, because I think Tau minimum belong in A tier. No one's putting Tau in BC.
They are absolutely not in B tier. They're they're top of A tier in my mind.
So if we look at that, Tau versus Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, we're going to say they're favored versus both unless things go sideways.
Fully agreed. Favored to both.
I think they are terrain dependent versus Eldar. If the Eldar can't hide effectively, they're done. If they can hide all day long, the Tau are done. That's really how I view the match.
Planes though, man.
I guess we're looking at the best Tau builds, which do typically run planes. But planes are rough for Eldar, but not the end all be all. We've watched Brad beat Eldar with Tau with planes. I watched Matt Shookman beat Tau with planes with the Eldar. Like, this is achievable.
It is achievable. It's not.
It's happened enough times where I would literally say it's Eldar's favor, but I would call it completely terrain dependent.
Yeah.
In WTC format, I would say Tau is probably favored over Eldar. In GW format, Eldar is probably favored over Tau.
Yeah.
Harlequins versus Tau?
Tricky. I still think it slightly favors Tau, but that has to be
in our
the best
WTC
player,
prep.
Yeah.
Jack, we tried this 2 different ways. One where I played KG Quins, one's where I tried Blitz Quins. Both died to the Tau.
Yeah.
I think Demons could beat the crap out of Tau.
That's the thing. I think this is a matchup that Demons do well into.
Yeah, I think Demons actually can hard counter Tau if you take enough Horrors and Scarbrand. It's just over.
Yeah.
Chaos Space Marines struggle into Tau because they're allergic to guns.
I was thinking
Sisters struggle into Tau.
Sisters struggle into Tau. I was still thinking that I put Sisters above Tau, but I could see the argument the other way because I think Sisters do have a relatively difficult matchup into Tau, and like I could see Tau is literally top of A or below Sisters. I think they're a top 2 of A.
I think they are the second best army in the game, not counting leagues of Votann. So we haven't seen them yet, and we haven't ranked them yet.
Oh, interesting. Ooh, we've got some disagreements coming up then.
Well,
I wasn't done with S tier.
I'm not done with S tier either, but maybe we're not done with D tier.
Maybe not. So I think that Tau way better than their win rate. I think the event results that they get, you see Tom Ogden consistently murder people. But Tau have the problem where Tau do shoot very well, super well. Sometimes it goes wrong and the game ends.
Tau have loss conditions that other armies don't because they are so monodimensional.
I have beaten Tau by weathering a turn of shooting that went below average, and I'll be like, oh yeah, you probably should have done a little bit more damage, but now you didn't, and now it's my turn, and now the game's over.
Yeah,
and sometimes that happens,
and
Tau don't back up well from that point if it happens.
Yeah,
like if Tom Ogden's list steps out and doesn't table anyone, theoretically that'll happen eventually. So far, no survivors.
Yeah,
but as soon as that doesn't happen, really tight. So
I'm good with that placement.
Yeah, I'm good right there. I could see Sisters right ahead. I could see them right below. I think it's very close.
I think it's also terrain dependent as well.
It is absolutely
Do objectives fall in the open or do they fall into the line of sight?
Oh, it's also literally like I'm going to look at the missions played at an event. If I theoretically was willing to play Tau and I was deciding between them and Sisters, I would look at an event. I'd ask them what their terrain format is. I'd ask them what missions they're playing and in what order. It's very tight.
Yeah, and if you can't get answers to that, Tau's a riskier take.
Yeah. Thousand Suns.
This is one. Oh, we got a $2 super chat real quick from Mad Lad Weiss. He's already beaten demons with his Tau. You know what? You've beaten my demons with the Tau. So keep that in your box.
I've beaten Tau with demons. Doesn't mean much. I don't really play demons.
So Thousand Suns. This is a faction I actually am starting to really enjoy. For over the year of slowly but surely learning it, struggle busing it, I'm starting to get my grips with it. I would say I've not found a good solution to just getting charged. Things like Blood Angels in particular, I still feel are going to run me right over.
Yep.
But then armies like Eldar and Tau, I actually feel pretty okay into because I can actually participate in a point score shootout with them. Other armies that are vulnerable to mortal wounds, like Leagues of Votann, I think maybe Thousand Suns have play into, although maybe I'll just die. I haven't tried that. And then Death Guard, they super struggle. A lot of the armies that just don't have mortal wound potential to play against can just die here.
Yeah.
I've actually seen Thousand Suns do well into Necrons as well, shocking as that is.
I'm not even shocked by that. I think that is actually a thing that could happen.
So I've played the game as the Thousand Suns player and did well versus the Necrons. I feel like I was capitalizing on my opponent's mistakes more so than I was beating them with my Thousand Suns. Now Thousand Suns is an army that will capitalize on your opponent's mistakes, which I value very highly as a skilled player. But I will say, if your opponent doesn't make mistakes, what's there to capitalize on? I don't know. I personally think they belong in the upper end of B.
We're on the same mind.
We're on the same
This
mind.
is good.
Okay.
I think that Thousand Suns they're below Blood Angels in my mind. They're comparable to Drukhari in where I see they are tier-wise, where you can see a couple good players do really well with them, but across the board they're not great, but they're not bad. I think ahead of Genestealer Cult, below Drukhari is where I was going to slide them.
I think they're better than Drukhari.
Better than Drukhari? I'm okay with that.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
I think they're going to have harder wins, harder losses, whereas Drukhari can play games against more of the field.
That's fair.
Thousand Sons win big, lose big a lot of the time because they get charged and run over, or they don't.
Yeah.
But that's, I think there's a fine placement.
That's fair. So, Alexander Zidkov with the £5 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you for the awesome content, bosses. Can 3 Freeblade Armigers fulfill the backfield/melee roles for pure Scions and bring Scions to C tier? You know what? If you were doing Scions with with Knights, I would say C tier. Yep. Yeah. I think that adding 3 Freeblade Armigers does take them up a little bit. All right. We've only got 4 armies left.
We only have 4 armies left. John, Tyranids. This is what I am so curious to see where you think Tyranids land. Because I have my own personal thoughts. But
Tyranids are awesome, man. I love this army.
I'm sure they are.
I love Tyranids. It's my first army. It's my favorite army. I'm so happy with them. So I think that Tyranids, it's weird. They have good event results. They have really great rules. I think that it's a weird thing where Tyranids' best army isn't their most popular army, because their most popular build is Leviathan. Leviathan is very strong, but sometimes it runs into counters, and for that reason, I don't like taking Leviathan to tournaments, because I think it's a great way to win games and a bad way to win events. But they also do just win events with Leviathan anyway, because the counters of them are hard, and sometimes you can outplay them, because Tyranids have so many rules. I genuinely think that Tyranids are better than anything in A tier. Yeah. I think it's a question of, are they S tier? Because their secondaries are a lot worse than Necrons, but I was going to say below Necrons in S tier.
Yeah,
I think Tyranids are awesome.
I don't know that they're S tier. I think they're awesome.
Yeah,
I
that's
definitely
fair.
think they're awesome. I think... So let's talk about Tyranids, and as far as like what even is a tier list. I think a lot of people view Tyranids like stat monster warriors, Leviathan stat check.
Harpies, the Reaper of Obliterax by himself is like a tier.
I think that Tyranid build is like middling bottom of A. Yeah. I'm much more concerned with a control style Kraken build, which I know you're all high on. Matt Robertson, one of our other Art of War coaches from the UK, he also loves that style. Yeah. That style, I think, is better into more skilled opponents because you're leaning more into player ability and expression of player skill and speed control and opportunities to capitalize on mistakes rather than here's my warriors, they're transhuman, go get them. But is it good enough? So that Kraken style, I still think it struggles with Necrons because their secondary game is just so much better than yours. Like, how do you actually translate killing them into points differential?
You gotta go fast.
You gotta go fast.
You gotta do it fast.
Similarly, I think Tau versus Tyranid is very terrain dependent. Like, if the Kraken can hide, Tau are gonna struggle. If the Kraken can't hide, good night.
Yep, that's a real thing.
What do you feel about Kraken versus Sisters?
I think Sisters have a great Tyranid matchup.
I do too.
Yeah. And this is funny because most people I talk to don't share that opinion. Like, most Sisters players are like, man, I keep losing to Leviathan. And every time I play Leviathan, I'm just like, get off the table, sir.
Now, I think Tyranids against other melee armies have a lot of advantages, and just they have so much speed, they have control over it, they have the Spore Mines to create mortals, they can move block effectively.
Yep.
Fabius Vile versus Tyranids, I think, would be an interesting game. Any other variation of Chaos, maybe Emperor's Children can hang. I think anything else that doesn't have the fight control will just get murdered by Tyranids.
Yeah.
And I think the Knights and Chaos Knights, especially with the Dread Test, can cause some real headaches for them.
Yeah, the Knights are a weird matchup for Tyranids, where I think Tyranids are better armies than both Knight flavors, but those are trickier. Those are trickier matchups. You gotta have some specific tech to try to get through that. I'd be okay putting them top of A, below Necrons.
I think below, like in the Tau Sisters Tyranids, I think that's a trio.
Yeah.
I think Tau is the best of that trio personally. But I could be... The reason is because I think Tyranids have to really struggle with certain builds that Tau just don't struggle with. Like,
that's fair.
Tyranids have a weirdly difficult Chaos Knight match. They real hard counter to Sisters, whereas like Tau, they'll just shoot Sisters and just shoot Chaos Knights. And it's not all about one specific matchup, but Tau always just have the I can just murder you plan, where Tyranids don't have that default.
Yep, that is completely true. Tyranids do murder people in combat. They don't have good secondaries, and that holds them back because they do have to go out and get them.
The limited secondaries also is a big challenge for Tyranids.
Yeah.
If you play against something that can block a psychic secondary, what do you even take? Banners?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just take banners, and I take the psychic secondary anyway.
and just go for points that you get.
That is exactly what I do. Yeah, when people have Deny the Witch, I'm like, all right, well, I hope I pass better than you.
Well, Deny the Witch I'm not even thinking of. I'm thinking like the 4 Deny strat that a lot of the Necron Sisters, Demons all have.
I do it, and I literally make them interrupt so that they have less CP.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you just go through it.
Yeah.
The chat seems to be thinking mostly S. I am inclined to agree.
All right. If the chat's thinking S, I'm thinking a little lower in A. I feel like
Did you want
to
a poll?
I don't think this is poll worthy.
All right, it's not. If it's not poll worthy,
They're just not as good as Necrons. Then they're not as good as Leagues of Votann. That's where they're going.
I agree with that. I think that the bottom of S is a perfect place for Tyranids. I think they're great.
A tier. That they're not as good as the rest of S tier. They don't belong in S tier.
Oh,
We're saying they struggle with Sisters and Chaos Knights, which are in A tier. I would say their Tau game is 50-50. Ish, which is A tier.
I think Kraken can beat Sisters, but this is just
Kraken can beat anything. It's
honestly, though, the problem is that it's like me. I'm like when I'm playing Sisters, I'm like, no, Sisters can beat Tyranids. When I'm playing Tyranids, I'm like, nah, I can beat Sisters.
Put them next to each other in A tier. If you have that sentence with yourself, I think we're done with this conversation.
Fine. I vote S, but
you also vote S for Sisters, then?
No, I think Tyranids are better than Sisters. I think me on Tyranids is better than me on Sisters.
All right.
Ultramarines, God bless. Ultramarines are...
They're not D tier. I will not put them in D tier.
No, they are not T tier, but they are the worst C tier. They are better than Raven Guard and Imperial Fists. What's your argument for Ultramarines here?
I have an Ultramarine coaching client, which I care for very deeply, and he beats Necrons consistently with Ultramarines.
Awkwardly enough, I think Ultramarines are one of the best armies to take on Necrons. However, there's a lot in between Ultramarines and Necrons.
I'm seeing that.
There's a lot in between there.
I think Ultramarines can be better than Space Wolves.
No, I think I agree with that. TikTok.
All right.
Yeah. A lot of people are asking how are Nids not in S tier. Tell you what, I take the screenshot. I think they're S tier.
They are. It's just not true. What? Okay, whatever. It's when we put. Fine, we'll fix it at the end. We'll fix it at the end when we look at Leagues of Votann and Necrons and we say one of these things is not like the other. Speaking of which, where does Leagues of Votann go?
Yeah, okay, fine.
All right, moving on. White Scars.
Yeah. Here's another interesting thing to consider for the chat action. I don't like to say it, but this is a point in favor of Nick's argument on Tyranids. The introduction of Leagues of Votann kills Leviathan immedially.
Goodbye.
Leviathan is
dead.
No
stat checking.
I think if Leagues of Votann aren't out yet, you're going to a tournament this weekend, next weekend. They're not allowing 3D prints. No Votann. I could argue for Tyranids ahead of Necrons, but I won't because I think Necrons are better. But I could see the argument for it, and I think Votann's not out yet. Tyranids are S. Mm-hmm. I will say Votann kills Leviathan, murders it into the cradle. Leviathan should not be played because it is already the third best Hive fleet, but people don't accept it yet because they're not ready to hear the word of Behemoth. That's okay. But Votann is killing, just murdering Leviathan.
Yeah. I've watched Nids lose to Tau and Sisters.
Yeah, that happens.
Chaos Knights. I know they can lose to Imperial Knights. That happened too. That's half of A tier. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do they not belong in A tier if they lose to half of A tier?
I think they can. I think that it's, are we talking Tyranids or the best Tyranids? Because I think, we also see Sisters lose to, Guard.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying any army can beat any army. That's strawmanning. I'm saying the best Tyranids typically lose in the finals of tournaments, in the semifinals of tournaments, to Tau, to Sisters. They lose on the way up to Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights because Knights and Imperial Knights don't make it that far.
I'm going to be spicy here. I don't think that's the best Tyranids losing. I think that's Tyranids carrying people up to that point.
Oh, okay. I can get behind that argument. I think Tyranids carry a lot of players.
I think Tyranids can carry people. Yeah, Tyranids are great.
You know what? I will buy that one. That the resultism I'm doing here is because people lean on Tyranid crutch, not Tyranids being elevated by player. Yeah. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've missed a couple super chats, unfortunately, so we got to carve through these real quick before we rank my beloved white scars. Tiago Santos, what's your opinion on Night Lords? Thank you for that super chat. Night Lords. Nick, Cass?
Night Lords are by far and away the best faction, especially with Demons for more leadership shenanigans. You can't go wrong with them.
And Chaos Knights. You need Night Lords and Chaos Knights and Demons in one big Agent of Chaos.
You take the Warlord traits for minus leadership, you take the whatever other minus leaderships you can throw in the bag, and then maybe at that point your army does stuff.
When the Custodes start running away, you know you've done it.
I think Night Lords would be a solid B tier faction.
Probably true.
Yeah.
Mad Lad Weiss, Jormungandr has some spicy builds, and I like Behemoth. Behemoth gang forever. Behemoth is, I think, really, really good. I think they're second to Kraken.
I think Behemoth is such a sleeper.
Behemoth is what I'm going to play when Tyranids get nerfed. Like, when they come in, they are like, oh, Leviathan Warriors won too much. Gone. Kraken, probably a little too good. Gone. Then I'm going to be a Behemoth player.
Not a White Scars player?
Not that. Cincinnatus with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I love my Thousand Suns to death, but I wish they had more build variety. Having Enlightened and Vortex Beasts actually do something would be nice. I would love to see Thousand Suns get a couple more data sheets as well. I think they deserve it.
Vortex Beast and Zangor Enlightened are such cool units that deserve time in the sun. Another $5 super chat. JG, thank you so much for your support. You have the wrong orc icon S tier, just an observation. I agree. We really need to work on the coloration of our orcs.
So we should get the orc icon up to S tier.
Well, I'm saying that yes.
Okay. All right. Orcs to S tier. Dun. Boom. Mad Lad Weiss with more super chats. Thank you so much. Problem is, Nids have S tier builds, A tier builds, and then Leviathan is in a static high B. Yeah, I'm with it. I think that Leviathan. I think Leviathan is the best way to take Tyranids to a winning record, and not the best way to take them to an X and O record. If you said, John, I'm gonna give you $500 if you get at least 5-1 at a super major this weekend. You got to get at least 5-1. I don't care about anything beyond that. You got to win 5 games. I would play Leviathan.
I'd play Eldar.
Tyranids. If you told me, John, I need you to qualify for top 8 of this super major. I need you undefeated after day 2. I need you 6-0. Kraken.
Yeah.
That's how I would take it.
I would agree with that.
Reziel asks, do you believe Tyranids need more nerfs? Yes. I hate that because I want Tyranids to not get more nerfs. I love them. But I gotta say it, before we talk about John McCardell being the hero of the Imperium, I do think Tyranids need a couple more nerfs. I think it can be a lot more targeted than it was last time. I think we could just remove the Reaper of Obliterax and make it Crusade only, so that Jack can play against it.
I think we get on to John McCardell being the
do
hero
it.
of the Imperium.
John
with
McCardell!
another 50 gifted subs. I think this is the 3rd time, at least that I'm aware of, that he's come onto this channel and just dropped the fat 50 gifted subs on our channel. Thank you so much for all your support. All of you that are now members, enjoy your wonderful new membership. It's awesome. You get access to our Discord server. It's super fun, super cool. Some of the best players in the world there. And for those of you who weren't lucky enough to get the gloriousness of John McCardell's gifted subs, you can sub right now and become a member of our community at 50% off your first month right now with promo code when you check out. Join our community.
Absolutely. John McCardell, you are a hero. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. All right. One last one.
Mr. Scars?
White Scars. Mr. Khan himself.
So YOLO White Scars have burned me badly.
Yeah.
I still think they're good. I don't know. I think White Scars played like as well as White Scars possibly could be played is probably B tier.
I think White Scars are C tier. I love them, but I think that the changes to the game around them have really hurt what White Scars do.
Like what?
White Scars don't have attack bonuses. They rely on rerolls. When no rerolls came into the game, it murdered White Scars.
I can get
White Scars really... Anyone who can be like, yes, no rerolls to wound. And I'm like, oh no, my Lightning Claws. And they're like, oh, no rerolls to hit. And you're like, oh no, my Thunder Hammers just hitting on 4s without exploding 6s, without attack bonuses.
Leagues of Votann was standing. Who says no rerolls to wound in mass?
Salamanders.
That's not a faction.
Iron Warriors.
Not a faction.
It's random stratagems. They're out there. There's not a ton of them. There's not that many.
I'm looking at the list right in front of us, right? Leagues of Votann was standing.
There's not that many rerolls to wounds. Rerolls to hit is still a big deal though. Like no rerolls to hit when it happens is just like terrible. And I love White Scars. They are my favorite Space Marine chapter. I think that they just struggle a lot because their game plan is not the success that it used to be.
And they also hate -1 damage.
They hate -1 damage, which is all over.
So I think White Scars, let's just kind of go through their B tier and see where they land. I think they would beat Blood Angels in a head-to-head still. Not that that's the only factor, but that is a factor.
Yeah, they might.
I mean, you've played that game with Jack. It was a while ago, but I don't think much has changed for either of you.
I need my CP more than Jack did, than Blood Angels do. And the lack of starting CP is rough.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
I think White Scars are still favored in the Thousand Suns because Thousand Suns are allergic to fast combat. White Scars going to lose to Drukhari. White Scars versus GSC. GSC struggle versus White Scars. I'll totally buy that. GSC actually have a Space Marine problem.
Yeah.
White Scars going to lose to Custodes. Probably going to lose to Death Guard.
Maybe beat Grey Knights.
Maybe Grey Knights.
Yeah. I was going to put them like high C tier, but the thing is that I think White Scars are worse than Dark Angels.
You think so?
I do. It pains me.
Yeah.
But like...
Man, how the mighty have fallen.
I know. I know.
I feel like they're bottom B. I really do.
I think that they are a bit below. I hate to say it. Like, I love that.
I see your points.
But like, also like, even into the Blood Angels, that matchup has changed because they got Army of Contempt and I got to cut my Storm Shields.
Yeah, they got Sanguinary Guard. I get it. I get your points. I do get your points.
Yeah.
I really like White Scar's ability to play speed.
I love that, but I think they lack enough power to take advantage of it. White Scars have a ton of tricks. They're great. They just don't have anything to deliver.
It's almost like they're playing similarly to Harlequins now, where the damage cap just isn't there.
Yeah. I think that if I were to summarize the problem for White Scars, White Scars is the best Space Marine chapter at delivering generic Space Marine datasheets where they need to be. They don't buff Space Marine datasheets. They just get them in the right spot. Space Marine datasheets are no longer powerful enough relative to the game for that to be valuable. You need to make the datasheets better, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where I put a Vanguard veteran profile anymore. I need a better Vanguard veteran. And +1 damage is good, but that's sometimes not enough.
Let's hit up these super chats.
All right, we've got a few. How many? All right, I think we're good. All right, Kerbo with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Can you break down where you think Blood Axes stack up in the meta? Strictly worse than Goths or better in some matchups?
I'm sure better in some matchups. The matchups where Goths blitz use kind of strategy is really hard countered. It doesn't work. You'll definitely want a more sneaky approach. That said, I think against the field, you'll want to play Goths over Blood Axes.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. Blood Angels are sometimes better, usually a little worse.
Yeah, Blood Axes.
Blood Axes. Still pretty good, though. Tim Penny with a $5 super chat. I'd like to see Obliter Axe's 2 rules just become 2 separate profiles and you choose between them. Something's got to happen to it. I have 25 ideas on what should change in the Reaper of Obliterax.
Well, what's your top pick?
My top pick is that the mortal wounds happen on a 5+ wound instead of any wound.
I just wish I could take feeling pain from it. That bothers me so much.
Yeah.
We got another member here, Michael.
Thank you,
Agner.
Michael.
Thank you for joining our community. Hope you enjoy it.
All right. Another super chat. Thank you so much, Lachlan Peterson. Any tips for the Death Guard versus T-Suns matchup for the T-Suns? Also, you missed my last super chat before the Nid Revolution. I'm so sorry, Lachlan. We will go find that. Nick, T-Suns versus Death Guard. What do you think for T-Suns?
I think it's actually a matchup you're fairly favorable in. You have so much mortal wound capacity, and Death Guard can't really catch you. They're not fast combat. So if you stay at the edges of your 18 inches, 17 inches, 16 inches, and just focus one squad at a time, you'll nuke that one squad between mortal wounds, just killing like half of it. Bolters at AP2 will go through anything but Terminators in cover. And then over the course of the game, you can just whittle the army to nothing. Death Guard secondaries, they're gonna have a lot of points up on you throughout the game, but what you're trying to do is turn the corner on damage so that you can stack all your secondaries endgame, do a Psychic secondary, the Burn Empire secondary, and basically score all of your points towards the end once the Death Guard are removed. The trick is you don't try to fight them fairly for the first few turns, you let them control the table, or you just chip at them, and by like turn 3, you've killed enough Death Guard that now you can start to close it out.
That's fair, yeah. All right, super chat from Sean Holtzman. Thank you so much. Thoughts on changes if they induce some of the older release books nerfs, going back to Codex Raw for Dark Elder and Admech, etc. And Imperials keep Armor of Contempt.
I would expect them to go the other direction where they kind of reduce the power of the game instead of keep increasing it. I think Armor of Contempt probably is a ham-fisted rule that I'm hoping they get rid of and replace with something a little bit more elegant. I don't think the answer is to undo all the stuff so everything is just broken at a higher power level. I think that is how we ended up in 7th edition, which we were very all eager to escape from.
Yep.
You fix power creep by ending power creep, by getting ahead of it and nerfing stuff. Fixing it by making everything have power creep is a terrible system we've tried many times.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Jacob Majerez, thank you so much. Member for 3 months. We appreciate that. If you yourself want to be a member, make sure you check out that link below. And as a matter of fact, you can use a 50% discount code if you want to be a Warrior member. Use Join the Community. Right on the link below, theartofwar40k.com/learn more. It's right in the description. All right. How do you nerf Votann? Thanks for awesome fun and help. All right. I got two big gripes here. And I think that every data sheet is just undercosted a little bit. It's the way that Tyranids were when they came out. Tyranids had a lot of good rules, and also you were just like, my data sheets are better than yours, die.
Yeah.
And I think they need to just ramp up the cost a little bit across the board. Second, judgment is too strong.
Yeah.
That's just the
It's just
auto wounding on 4s to hit.
The game is built around
army-wide.
you roll to wound.
Yeah.
Now you don't. It's just too much.
So I would love points changes. I don't know if we're getting a Munitorum Field Guide anytime soon. I hope we are, but I don't know. But I would love to see those two things. And then you see where they fall, But Judgment just fundamentally operates at a different level than the game has seen, and that's a bit of a problem. Connor Nichols, thank you so much for the super chat. Not a question, but to all watchers, I highly recommend the War Room. Been in there almost 2 years and never looked back. Helped them immensely. Connor Nichols, thank you so much for spreading the good word. You are a hero.
And for those of you who don't know what the War Room is, I'm not going to go through the whole spiel again. We'll do that at the end of the video.
Absolutely.
But there is a link right down below with all the information, theartofwar40k.com/learn more. And if you combine it with that promo code John mentioned, join the community, you get a 50% off your first month. Just give it a shot.
Absolutely. It is the community space for talking competitive 40k. We hope to see you there. All right, let's go down the line. Scram! £2 super chat. Talos Chronos, really never good, or?
They were definitely really, really good.
Yeah.
They nerfed some of the Coven customs that reduced damage on them to now only be from Strength 8 or higher. A lot of weapons in the game are Strength 8 or higher, so it's kind of a rule you don't really make access to. They also nerfed Dark Technomancers, which hurt a lot of the Chronos style builds. You can still run them. Some players do run Talos and Chronos. It's a little bit... They pay for stat checks, right? They're super durable body.
Yeah.
Well, they're durable bodies that try to run people over like that and just move the bowling ball towards the enemy and just kill them. Unfortunately, damage has gone up in the game, especially with Leagues of Votann. But even with them standing, Tau will just kill this stuff. Eldar can just kill that. Sisters can probably just kill it. There's so much.
Some armies, yeah.
Some armies that you just push your stats in the middle of the board. They're like, good night.
Yep. Knights.
Knights too.
All right, one more super chat from Daniel. Thank you so much for the super chat. What point changes do you want to see for Genestealer Cult? My top choice would be characters.
Characters are the
all
biggest
characters down in points.
characters and aberrants.
Yeah, I actually want aberrants to just get more rules.
Yeah.
But if we're just getting a points change, aberrants should go down. They're not worth their points. I would rather they make aberrants better to suit the points cost, but I would accept points decreases.
I would agree with that. Aberrants need more.
Aberrants
than
need
attacks.
to be scary. They really do.
2 attacks. Moving on.
Yeah. So what point changes do you want to see for Genestealer Cult? Characters across the board, all of them down.
Every single one.
All right. We caught up on super chats. We've caught up on factions.
Are we happy?
I think we're done, but let's just do a quick look. So one except A as well. I'm pretty happy with A. If I were to gripe, I think that actually looking at it, I think CSM is a little bit high.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to disagree on this. I think Eldar's too high.
I think Eldar's too low.
So I'm willing to drop CSM a tier.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think CSM can get a little bit lower.
I really am still stuck on Eldar is better than Harlequins, but the internet has disagreed with me, and we all know the internet's always right.
The internet is always right, and I'm with the internet on this one.
So I'm happy with A tier if we can agree to disagree on that, and then B tier.
We have Custodes right above Death Guard. I think that flipped a little bit.
I'm okay with that though. I think against the field, Custodes are.
I think these are the only Space Marine chapters that I would try to put in B tier.
I think Grey Knights are better than Death Guard.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I would do that.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind that much.
And then
I don't mind. Yeah, Orks being bottom of B. There we go. So many Space Marine chapters. Guard and Adamec. God bless them.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty stoked with this. I can get behind all this. Another $2 super chat from Lindsay Lee.
Thank you.
Should Necrons be nerfed, and if so, how? Yes, they're secondaries, and take core off the Silent King.
Yeah, take core off the Silent King. He is not core, and just Secondaries. Yeah, I think you could cut secondaries and leave the rest untouched and see how they shake out. Necrons have some things that like feel too good, but I think they feel too good because of the secondaries. I'd be okay with just change the secondaries and see how Necrons fall out.
Right.
I'd be okay with that. All right. I think we're done here.
Yeah, I think
we're good. So, if you like this content, there's a lot more content to watch.
There is.
As a matter of fact, we're going to be playing a game in about 40 minutes in the War Room. But, Nick, give me that pitch.
You get this pitch. All right, so the War Room is this awesome community we've cultivated over the years, and it's only getting better and better every day. It's full of people who are just trying to get better at the game, enjoy their hobby more, and generally learn competitive 40k from some of the best players in the world, like John, like Jack, like Siegs, like our other Art of War coaches abroad. Like Nick. And what we do is we try to create a very positive, awesome community. It's all like-minded people. It's not toxic. People pay to be in there. There's no trolls. It's just focused content on getting better about Warhammer. Lots of discussions for every faction in the game. You get access to that, along with so much more. In the War Room, you'll get access to about 12 videos per week, 11 videos, something like that, where we go through different factions, strategy sessions, meta-analyses. In our coaching games, if you watch them on YouTube, we don't just play the game like we normally do on YouTube. We discuss all the thought processes going in our brains, the moves we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing them, and the moves we're considering and not opting not to, and why we're opting not to. We run things back, we reset. It's a whole coaching experience. Absolutely. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, I implore you to check out the link below, theartofwar40k.com/learn more. You can learn more about the War Room. And then you can even join the community with the 50% off discount code with Join the Community when you check out in the promo code section. And finally, if that's all so much for you, you're just new here, you're checking out, we do tons of free YouTube content every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We got a game tomorrow. We got Fix Your List, which is a section where the coaches like Jack and Brad will fix people's lists that's submitted through the Discord community. And then on Thursday, John's going to debate some hot topics with Brad.
Always do.
You can come to this channel for some super awesome 48 content. Give us a subscribe, like the video, leave a comment telling us how handsome we are and how wrong John is about Eldar. And Tyranids, all those controversial picks. Let us know your opinions on the factions and where you think everything should be ranked. Our ability to produce this content completely depends on your support for us. So please keep on supporting. It means the world to us. And thank you all so much for watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There's so many rules in 40k, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.